Hello, everybody, and welcome. Happy Thursday. Welcome to TheoryCraft episode 30. Nice even number. I love even numbers. 30 episodes. 30 episodes. Spent a lot of time now. It's been a lot of fun. Here we are, episode 30. And you all know what that means. It's the second Thursday of the month or the second episode of the month. You know, it's not always the second Thursday of the month because sometimes we skip episodes and that's just what happens. But it's community replay review, baby. Should be fun. How you guys doing? You guys all have a good week? I sure did. Last episode was Human Day. Ah, yeah, we did the Noah's Ark strategy. Noah's Ark. That was fun, right? That was fun. I had a good time with that. Haven't heard that term used yet, so maybe it's not sticking unless Neo used it. I didn't realize, but still, you know, I still stand by that strategy choice, and I learned a lot doing that. You know, it's cool. I like to be able to do these shows and like actually, you know, learn a bunch of new stuff. And that episode was all pretty much new things for me, which is cool. Which is a lot of cool. There's a lot of things to learn, and we're gonna learn a bunch today because community replay review tends to be the day where I sort of struggle through trying to figure out the best response to strategies people are losing to. I don't always have the best answers, so you know. It's with your guys' help that we're able to get through these and maybe give some hopefully useful advice to people. Hopefully. But, you know, it's always difficult. It's always difficult. So here's today's episode. Woo! Someone was asking, how do I submit replays? Well, you can email me here. You can email me there. Carson at backtowarcraft.com. That's not the most common way to submit replays, though. A more common way to submit replays would be to go to this website, discord.backtowarcraft.com. That will send you into our Discord. It'll give you an invite link, and then you can join the TheoryCraft channel. Woo! You can join it there, and you can submit replays there, or you can ask me questions, or you can talk with each other, whatever. You guys could use the channel for whatever you want. Within reason. I do have admin in the Discord. I will ban you, but you know what I mean. If you want to ask me something, just at me there. If you want to send me a replay, you can send it in there. Whatever you guys want to do. Just if you want to get a hold of me, that's generally the best way to do it because Discord DMs tend to get a little crazy at times. So that's always a good way. I check that Discord every day. So if you got something to ask me, you want to send me a replay, Discord's a really good way to do it. And I feel like the Back to Warcraft Discord is a little underutilized. I don't know how you guys feel, but I feel like there's not enough chatting going on in there. I would like to get that Discord more popping, you know? Get a little more popping. Because we're always in there. We respond to messages in there all the time. There's just not always a lot of messages. There's a lot of messages. Yeah, you can do !Discord in the chat as well. Look at that. It sends you to the link we're just talking about. You feel the same? Yeah, the Discord's underutilized for us. Maybe we got to advertise it more. But you know, there's plenty of channels. There's feedback for the channel here. There's a main channel. There's an off topic. You guys can even whine about Reforge. There's a channel to do that. You can share your content in there. You can throw some stream highlights from the channel in there. We can talk about TheoryCraft, all that sort of stuff. If you're a patron, there's channels for the people in the Patreon. If you're a sub or a tier 2, tier 3 sub, there's channels for that. So there's lots of cool things. No, we're not going to do that, OMG. We're not going to do that. Not a chance. Or at least not a chance if I'm making the final call. All right. So, with that being said, move over to Slack. I've heard of that, but I've never used it before. So that's how you submit a replay. And today we have 5 replays to go over. 5 replays submitted by you guys. I think there was a couple overlapping from last month, but again, I say this every month, but it's worth repeating. If I've missed your replay, you've sent me a replay, and I said, hey, I'll do that, and I haven't gotten around to it yet, just send it again. Send me a new replay, even if you want. Sometimes I miss them, sometimes I forget about them, sometimes I download them, and then they get lost in my crazy replay folder. That's getting a lot crazier. You guys want to see my replay folder? This is Yeah, this is fun. Let me show you. I'm gonna show you my replay folder. One sec. Here. This is what I'm dealing with. So I got this. So there's all my standard replays, right? Like this is. Oh. See, here's all my standard replays, right? Whatever. And then I gotta organize them all into here. These are all for other people. Whatever. Here's for our Patreon. And then I got all these. This is every episode of the show. And if you just go to like then I got all these. So they get lost. Right? The replays get lost, right? They all get whatever. So this is why I'm losing your replays sometimes. All right. Here's one episode. Whatever. I don't even know what this episode was. Apparently, is Undead Day. They get lost until we end up at today. Okay. So I apologize if I lost your replays, but it does happen. So send them again, or send me a new replay. And another reason why they might not get covered is if they're too long sometimes, because I want to fit as many in as I can, and I don't want the episodes to be 6 hours, but my intros tend to take up about 50% of it, as you guys well know at this point. The Red Orc folder? Did I have a folder for Red Orc? Yeah, I think I did some coaching. I have folders for people I've coached before. Oh yeah, I do have a folder for him. What do you know? Okay, so that's that. Next week is Orc Day. I don't know what the hell I'm gonna do for Orc Day. What do you guys think I should do? Recently discovered a micro custom map, just spreading the word. Yeah, I've used those before. What's up, Hudamic? How you doing, man? Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do for Orc Day next week. It's gonna be hard, like, to get an episode that's as informative, at least for myself, as last week's was with the Human Day. But maybe there's something new. Compare Lin and Focus or something. Yeah, I don't know what matchup to do, because we've already done Human versus Orc. We've done Orc versus Human, I should say. We've done Orc versus Elf. We've done Orc Mirror, and we've done Orc versus Undead. We haven't done. There's a few things. We haven't done like Farseer Headhunters versus DK, except we did from Happy's perspective. Maybe we could do it from the Orc perspective. We haven't done playing against Demon Hunter. We haven't done playing against like Keeper Talons or Keeper Dryads. Maybe we could do like the Hitman Demolisher thing. That could be fun. But that's still what I'm figuring out. If you guys have any suggestions, again, you could join the Discord. And you give me suggestions on what you think next week's episode should be on. All sorts of things. Stars and Stripes, what's up, dude? How's it going? Happy anniversary, man. Jesus. 33 months. We appreciate you, man. We appreciate your moderation, your support. We appreciate your Twitch streams as well. They're some of the best in the category. And also we had Enginomics before we went live with the 5 months. Thank you. Any old WCG? Ooh, some classic replays. So, you're streaming tomorrow? Nice. Okay, so moving on to today's episode. We'll have 5 replays, and what's cool about today is, in the past for these community replays, we've had a lot of different. You should put on a cool tie. Yeah. We've had a lot of the same matchups in these before. I think we had an episode where we just did like 5 humans in a row. Today we actually have not every matchup. That would be like 10 replays, but we have every race, which is cool. So today we're going to have, I believe it's 2 orcs and then 1 of every other. I believe. Yes. And the 5th replay, we're going to do something a little bit different. But we'll wait till we get there. So the first 4 will be standard practice. 5th replay is going to be a little bit different. For reasons I'll explain then. All right. I think that's that. Are there any questions before we jump into the first replay? I see a couple people that submitted the replays in the chat, which is good. Have a sip of coffee. The first replay will be Mr. BlackPhoenix who's a 1600 MMR, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's around where you are. Orc player, but he's been playing a lot of off-race recently, and he sent me a message on the Discord. He said, "Hey, Carson, I have a selection of replays for this month's community replay review. Feel free to pick any based on the matchup you want to cover." And he sent me just a replay of him playing every race. Pretty dope. Pretty dope, right? So I picked one. I picked one so that we had every race in today. I picked him playing Night Elf as off-race against Wantu, who's also a Night Elf. So it's going to be a Night Elf mirror, which is a pretty exciting matchup. There's going to be a lot of matchups we do today, and I'm going to refer back to old episodes that we've done. So if you guys remember, I did an episode of Night Elf mirror, episode 22. A submission for replay review on the Discord. Yep, if you join the Discord, you can submit through the TheoryCraft channel, or you can email me. Either or. Either or. If you send them to me in DMs, they tend to get lost, because there's a lot of DMs going on. Yeah, episode 22 was Night Elf Mirror, so I'm going to refer back to a lot of the things we talked about in that episode. And without further ado, I think we're good to go. It's on Tidehunters. Let's check it out. Loading in. Alright, first things first as we jump into this replay. Mr. BlackPhoenix, also known as DeChrysler, was playing random here. So he's playing random, and his opponent is playing Night Elf. So what this is going to do by default most of the time is it's actually going to force our Night Elf opponent to kind of play Keeper, right? They're most likely going to play Keeper against random. Because if you think about it, against Orc, you can play Keeper. Against Undead, you can play Keeper. Against Human, you can play Keeper. In fact, in all three of those matchups, Keeper is the best option. Now, in Night Elf Mirror, it's kind of rough, right? It's kind of like in the past when you would go Blade Master as an Orc player against random, and then you would just hope you're not up against Human. In which case, oh, you also told me your race? Well, let's still talk about this regardless. In which case you're going to wish you had a Farseer, right? If you're up against Humans. So this is, you can assume what your opponent is going to do based on just the fact that you're random. So in the fact that he's actually going Keeper this game, and you told him your race, I guess he's assuming you're going to play Potom Hunts then, right? Because Keeper's pretty decent against Potom Hunts. What Keeper is very bad against is Demon Hunter. It's Demon Hunter. So you could, kind of assuming that he's going Keeper, just go Demon Hunter to blind counter that, if he doesn't know what your race is. In this case, he's kind of metagaming you by going Keeper, knowing you play Potom and Mirror, which most players playing Night Elf as an off race are going to play Potom and Mirror. Is DH possible against all four races? It's possible against all four races, but it's not the best strategy against all four. So do you want to gamble, or do you want to have a slightly suboptimal strategy in every matchup? Right? You could sort of take your pick there. Now, one small detail that I noticed all the top Night Elves doing when they played Potom in Mirror is they would actually Ancient War creep and go one Archer into Huntresses. Still 2 Ancient War Huntresses, as we're seeing, but they would Ancient War creep and they would get very close to level 2, and importantly, they'd also get an item. Because this build order, and I've been playing a lot of 2v2 recently, I've been having a lot of fun with it, and random in 2v2, I get a lot of Night Elf, and in 2v2 you play Huntresses. This build order kind of sucks. It kind of just feels really bad. Your second Huntress is super late. You're a little bit low on lumber later on because you need to stay at 17 out of 20. Whereas before you'd have 2 extra wisps at that point. It just kind of sucks. This builder just kind of sucks. So it's just a lot better overall. It feels a lot better. It plays a lot better. It has a lot better game flow, I suppose is the term Grubby likes to use. If you Ancient War creep and then go into Huntresses afterwards. So 1 Archer into Hunts. I kind of like that. But regardless, Searing Arrow, standard. Harass, standard. It's all about, and Remo would definitely make fun of me if he heard me say this again, but it's all about the Moonwell mana here. It's all about trading and forcing them to use their Moonwells less efficiently than you. And you can do that by default because the Potom trades better. It has Searing Arrow, the Keeper spends a lot more mana, all these things. So this is perfect so far. No issues here. Yeah, just putting damage. I think just continually putting damage on that Keeper would be best here. going for last hits, but honestly, I think you're sort of getting a little bit fancy here, and this tends to be something people do. They get a little bit fancy. Oh, whoops, I need to put this on. Whoops, there we go. People tend to get a little bit fancy. And he's going for last hits and stuff like that. And the thing about the last hits in this sort of a situation when you're harassing like this is it tends to be like, if my opponent makes a mistake, I'm going to get a last hit. So the question becomes, what's up, Eugene? How you doing, man? Good to see you. The question then becomes, do I want to play based on my opponent making mistakes, or do I want to play based on my opponent also doing everything perfectly? So in this situation, if you don't have a Windwalk last hit, if you don't have a Coil, a Stormbolt, whatever, if you don't have like a Mana Burn to last hit an Ogre Magi or something, it takes a big mistake for Want2 here to actually give you a last hit. It takes a mistake. So you can go for the fact that he might make a mistake and try to get last hits, but in doing that, you're actually losing out on a lot of damage because we saw you dancing around, waiting to get the last hit. In that case, you could have just put in 3, 4, 5 more attacks on the Keeper and gotten him to almost 200 health. You know, so it's whatever you want. I mean, if you think your opponent's going to make a mistake, then go for it. But the most optimal way to play, in my opinion, is just to not go for it, because he would have to screw up. And we know Want2 ain't going to mess up here. And you didn't get any last hits. And this Keeper could be a lot lower.
Your building is complete.
He's going to wait for another set of treants before he goes for this macro bag at home. All good, all good. See, now he can just entangle you? Yeah, exactly. Still, this is just all time. You should really only be putting damage on the Keeper here. That's kind of a waste of entangle. That's actually really bad for him. You should only be putting damage on the Keeper because the fact that what you're doing with this harass is you're not really stopping him from getting full health, or at least you kind of are now because he's already used some Moonwell mana. But assuming he has Moon Juice, you're actually going to stop him from getting full mana. So he's going to get full health, but his mana is going to be low, and he's not going to be able to power creep. He's not going to be able to, you know, harass with entangle level 2, stuff like that. So that's why putting damage on the Keeper is better. It's just better overall. Okay, you're going to go back. This is the stage where most Night Elves would fall back and creep level 3 or creep at least level 2 if you were 1.9, which is all good. And there's a few different styles. You can play that sort of wacky Moon style where you like power creep and you fake going for the Tower Rush, the 2 glaive all in, and then you just sort of use that map control to creep. That's a pretty standard strategy, and you transition to Mass Archers. Or you can actually go for the all-in, which I think in the case of this game, because you've done so much damage to his Moonwells already, and you slow down his creeping so much, although he is Keeper, I think actually going for the 50 supply 2 glaive push this game would be pretty good. Would be pretty good. But for now, I think creeping is totally fine. But this camp could already be crept earlier. You forgot a Moonwell. Things happen. It's actually not that big of a deal.
Research finished.
Wait, did you? This isn't even a late Moonwell. Are you trolling? You might be trolling.
Your building is complete.
So yeah, creeping here is fine. There does come a stage when you should go over to his side and try to like dive for his archers or catch his archers out of position. One thing that you don't have is wisps out on the map. Like for instance, I don't think you should have too many, but like as a rule of thumb, you should always try to find a couple of wisps, a couple of positions to put wisps on the map. I do believe like this is one place really common for people to put wisps on this map. And this sort of covers when they're leaving their base, like this direction, this direction. And then generally having it on like the side that you most likely might want to creep jack them. So having one close by here so that you can pull it and maybe scout this would be really good. Or having one on the other side, like having it right here just so you can pull it and scout this. So that when you're actually done creeping here, you can look for a creep jack. Because what you definitely want to do is you want to be pressuring his archers eventually. Because if his archers get caught out of position, he either has to town portal or lose 2 or 3 of them. And then there's another option for him where if he realizes that might happen, he's going to AFK them at his base, in which case you actually can dive for the archers, put damage on them, sometimes get kills, and just burn your TP, diving for the archers. This is all assuming you're going to go for that 2 glaive all in. There comes a point when you should try to pressure the archers to lower the moonwells again and to try to get some archer kills. So that should be a play you're looking for, and a scout wisp would help you sort of do that. Ooh, you're going for an expo. See, this expo, it's fine strategically, right? Like, a lot of people play expo with Potom, and they tech, and then they go into, like, Dark Range or whatever. The issue with this expo is you don't actually know where he is, because you don't have a wisp out on the map. And there's the added benefit of having wisps out on the map where he's playing Keeper. You're going to be able to get rid of Entangle on your Huntresses, which most likely he's level 3. We, of course, cheat, and we know he's level 3. But you can assume at this stage he's going to be level 3. So you have Wisps out on the map to deal with Entangle. You'll also know that this expansion is either safe or unsafe. We don't know at this stage. And in fact, it's actually not very safe at all. Yeah, going for the archers here is good. Good, good, good. Huntresses are very good against archers. Oh yeah, the deny. What Wantu should really be doing is just entangling a single Huntress and then just running away. And then just entangling another Huntress and just running away, sort of thing, over and over again, not really ever directly engaging. See, and the thing that's kind of wacky about this is a lot of the strength of mass Huntresses, one, comes from you having a lot of map control, but a lot of the time the reason you have a lot of map control is because your opponent thinks they're going to get all-in. So half the strength of playing this into a macro game is that, like, you know, if Wantu doesn't know you're expanding and he's assuming, okay, he's about to build 2 glaive throwers, get a Zeppelin, get heal scrolls, and push me, which is the standard sort of 50 supply push I keep talking about, he's going to have to build an AP in his base. He's going to have to delay tier 3 tech. He's going to have to build 4 Moonwells. We already saw he built a shop early. He's going to go like Tinker second. He's going to play. He's not going to move his Ancient of War. He's instead going to, you know, he's not going to be creeping this with anything. He's going to play super defensive. So a lot of the strength of this comes to your opponent taking precautions to deal with an all-in that never comes. And that's something Moon did really well when I covered his strat in episode 22. He always feinted as though he was going to all in, but instead he would just back up and creep, and then eventually he just teched, and then eventually he got an expansion, and he did all this while pressuring the opponent into playing defensively. Whereas right now you've played sort of passive yourself, you showed you're going for an expansion, and you're not really pressuring Wantu at all, so he's sort of left open to not having to overreact to the potential of being all in. Does that make sense? Hopefully. Moving on. Regardless of if you're going for a macro game or not, I think this should be the stage where you actually get 2 glaive throwers. So no Huntress here. Get 2 glaive throwers. I think also creeping this lab and getting a Zeppelin here would be a great play. And then another thing I've seen Moon do is at this stage of the game, he's trying to get an expansion up, or he's trying to tech tier 2. More likely teching tier 2. And he actually scouts around the map looking for a creep shack, but at the same time, he Zeppelin drops 2 glaive throwers and pressures. And if you're running around the map looking for a creep shack, looking for a fight, and Zeppelin dropping 2 glaive throwers, Wantu's forced fully back, and that allows you to either tech straight to tier 3, or allows you to get an expansion up, or both, a lot of the time. Okay, TP's out, but he gets your expansion cancelled. See, at this stage, I still think you could just go get a heal scroll and push. Like, I think re-expanding here might almost be a mistake. I think you could just all in still because you've killed so many archers. I think you've killed 5 archers. And if we look at his Moonwells, pretty close to dry. All right, he's got like 400 Moonwell mana left, but not full mana on the Keeper. And he's only got 5 Huntresses. So I think you could just push here and probably win the game. What would help with that would be those 2 glaive throwers and the Zeppelin. And not teching. Okay, you're getting the heal scrolls. Perfectly standard time to fight over the heal scrolls. This is really good. Kind of a hard creep camp to get the heal scrolls from, I won't lie, but it's alright. Yeah, heal scroll, protection scroll here. Really good. Really, the only thing you're missing is the double glaive with a Zeppelin right now. And you had the time. You had the time to creep this lab quite easily. So I think that's the main thing missing. You actually sell everything. That's fine. Because the cool thing about getting the 2 glaives, if you're going for a big push, this is the whole reason for it. Say he has a glaive throw in the back of his base. Say he has an AP right here. All you have to do is sit right here. He can't actually engage into you directly because you have the better Huntress numbers. You have the heal scroll, you have the protection scroll. But he also can't sit back and wait because you have 2 glaive throwers killing Moonwells. And if he has glaives in the back of his base and his base is open, you could, again, going back to the play earlier with the archers, you could actually just dive and kill the glaive thrower or the 2 glaive throwers that he might have, and then just TP out and do it all over again. So this TP could be used as like a tool. You haven't actually used it yet, but you could definitely use it to deal with the glaive thrower and then still go for that sort of a push. I don't think it's too late at this stage. Generally, you'll already be pushing by like you'll grab heal scrolls as soon as they spawn and then push right away, but I still think you could push right now and win quite easily. But you're creeping and expanding. That's fine. And then transition at this stage into archers, maybe, when you hit tier 2. That's typically what Moon does. He'll have his standard 50 supply Huntresses with the 2 glaive throwers and the Zeppelin, just as though he's pushing. And then to break upkeep, he'll transition. Okay, perfect. He'll transition into pure archers with a tier 3 tech. And he won't actually get a second hero. He'll just play like the level 6 game, which is a little ridiculous, but even level 5 is really good. Again, the expansion gets canceled. And this could all be avoided if you were pressuring a little bit more, but you've been very, very passive. Nice heal ward. Should be a winnable fight still pretty easily. Wait, you already used the heal scroll? When was the heal scroll used? Missed that. Still pretty easy fight. And this is good because you're opening supply for archers, so you actually want to fight here.
Our warriors have engaged the
Now,
enemy.
in these sorts of games, especially in Night Elf Mirror, I'm going to ask you a question, chat. After these sorts of fights, similar dynamic in Orc against Human, what's something that you should be thinking about immediately after these fights? As soon as the fight is over, you've been running around for a little bit, you've been fighting for a little bit. In Huntress Mirror, what is the one thing that should pop into your head as soon as the fight is over? What do you guys think? There's one thing. There's one thing. Can anyone tell me? Pop quiz. Pop quiz hotshot. What should BlackPhoenix be thinking about right now? Dinner, of course. You should know this, Flame. Except for a Human against Orc, most likely. Expand, I don't know. Good. Scrolls. He should go to the shop right now and buy the second heal scroll. Because Wantu is probably going to the shop right now to get the next heal scroll. In Huntress Mirrors, or just playing Huntresses in general, you need those heal scrolls. Because your Moonwells are going to get dry. There's AoE all over the place. He's even got like a tanker doing AoE with the Pocket Factory stuff. Go get the heal scroll. So that's the first thing. He actually was a little bit inefficient. He won the fight, and the keeper ran down here, right? But his Potom also sort of chased a little bit. His Potom should have literally just ran straight to the shop afterwards and got the next scroll. As on one-shot maps, that's very, very important. And there's 3 of them in the map pool right now. There's 3 of them. Oh, you're actually going for the red camp. A play you could also do if you still wanted to get the red camp and get the heal scrolls, you just buy a Staff of Teleportation, move your army here, Staff to the army, and then creep this. Because if we look at the Keeper, did the Keeper get the heal scrolls? Oh, no. I think there might only be one spawned. I can't actually check. There's definitely at least one. I don't know if there'd be two right now. This is really good with the heal ward, though.
Our warriors have engaged
The way Moon plays this as well is he doesn't even expand until much, much later. Because he's always got map control to power creep, so he's actually got an economic advantage just through creeping everything. And he's always trading efficiently because he always has a better army. And he's forcing repair and stuff with Zeppelin drop glaive throwers. So he actually doesn't feel the need to expand until much later. And he just power creeps is how I've seen Moon do this.
Create more moonwells.
Okay, more archers. Eventual tier 3 tech would be good. Comparing Moon, how else do we learn? Heal scroll's still available right now. There we go. You still get it. You shouldn't have probably been allowed to get it. Yeah, GG Skull. So definitely pretty all around pretty well played. I think there are definitely some adjustments you could make. Like, I don't think the expansion is necessary. I think those 2 glaive throws would be very, very impactful. If not for the sort of harass play, but just for the fights directly. But Night Elf Mirror is definitely a matchup with many strategies. It's similar to Orc Mirror currently, where there's just a whole lot of weird cheese strategies with different variants. And Expansion is one of those. The 1-base mass creep style is one of those. The mass archer all-in is one of those with the Naga second. There's also the just standard 2-glaive Huntress all-in. Only know how to mass archers and hunts. I think the all-in with 2 glaives is actually easier than the strat you were playing. That strat's actually pretty complicated because you have to know when do I creep, when do I pressure, when can I expand, and you gotta like macro heavily behind it. So I think he actually chose the more difficult style. But I did cover that. Episode 22, I covered that strat to an extent that you were just doing. Yeah, there's a lot of cheese stuff. There's a lot of different strategies. So cool. Thanks for that. Thanks for that. So there's our Night Elf replay for the day. I think that's the only Night Elf. Yeah, that's the only night, and that's why I chose that replay from Mr. BlackPhoenix because there was no other Night Elf submissions, even though BlackPhoenix is an Orc player. So that was his off race, and that's exactly how I played Night Elf off race. Well, at least I played Potom, and pretty successful with that. I don't know why anyone plays Demon Hunter in Mirror. Now, there's something I'm missing for sure because all the top Night Elves do it, but Potom's something else, man. Potom is feels like a free win when you're not against another Potom in Mirror. I will say that. So keep up the Potom work. The next replay submission is by a good friend, coolbreeze. And he submitted a replay last month, and I think he had only played for like, I don't know if it was weeks or months, but it was a very limited amount of time. Let me actually see. I'm going to look up what he said last month. Because this is a continuation replay after a month of practice, which is just sweet. Which is just sweet. Let me find last month's episode here. Last month was August. Okay, so he submitted an Orc vs. Human last month. He was 1300 MMR. And he said, "Hi, started the game 2 weeks ago." Okay, so he was 13 MMR last month. He started the game 2 weeks before he submitted the replay. So now he's played for 1 month and 2 weeks. And he's managed to get up to 1500 MMR from 1300. Pretty solid, pretty solid. Hey, what's up, SU467? Thank you. He says, "Thanks for great content, Carson. Thank you for watching. Thank you for the sub. I appreciate you. 18 months. And he says, for today's replay, which is an Orc vs. Night Elf on Echo Isles. He says, "Hi Carson, cool breeze here. Since last TheoryCraft, I managed to go from 1300 to 1500 MMR. So thank you for that. I'm sure it's all due to your good effort. And I think like after 2 weeks, you were crazy good if I remember. So you definitely got a good head for the game. Here's my Orc vs. Night Elf replay. Almost 2 months after buying the game, I'm starting to understand a few things, but I noticed a trend of my losses. I do pretty well in the early mid-game for my ELO, but then I just throw the game because I think I can just close the game by just pushing, but I keep on getting destroyed. So here's what I would love you to explain. More than the matchup itself or the mistakes I've done, I'm sure there are plenty of those. What am I supposed to do when I'm ahead? Should I expand and go for a 70 out of 80 supply push? Should I just tech? Here's the replay, 22 minutes long, but I'm certain you can cut it fast for the last 5 minutes if more. Okay, cool. So not going to focus too much on the strategical side of things, although no guarantees. Sometimes I get a little ahead of myself with these things. But more so, I'm assuming this game, we're going to get ahead. We're going to get in a position where we have an advantage. And then somehow we're going to throw it. So we'll get to the point where we have an advantage, and we'll pause, and we'll say, okay, look, what's the best play? We have A, B, C. What's the best thing to do at this stage? And we'll try to do that a few times if we do get ahead multiple times. Because it's a 22-minute game, so there's probably, you know, both sides of it goes back and forth. Today I lost 10 games in a row. That happens, man. I lose 10 games in a row all the time. When ahead, get more ahead. Yeah, I say that myself all the time. But we'll see, we'll see. So Orc against Night Elf. I did do an entire episode on this as well. I don't know what episode it was. The fundamentals of Orc against Night Elf, which was talking about playing Blade Master Shadowhunter against Standard. Don't remember what episode that was. 18, 19? It would have been a couple months ago. But I did a whole episode on it. So you can go check that out if you want to learn some more about this. But let's see replay number 2. Alright, so here's our hero, coolbreeze, and here is our opponent, Mr. Chinese Ninja. Incredible, incredible. So we'll go to his perspective because we're going to be... The thing about watching it from one player's perspective that we don't see our opponent is it makes it easier if we do tend to get ahead in games and then lose. We need to think about what decisions we're making when we get ahead. And we're not making the decisions based on having map hack, like I do right now. We're making the decisions based on having this amount of information. We haven't scouted yet. We don't know what's going on. So if we're ahead, say 10 minutes into the game, it's best to analyze it from this sort of perspective and think, okay, what is maybe the objectively best play to do? And that's something you can do in your replays too, to sort of, especially replays maybe you're a little bit fuzzy on, but you know that you lost them. Look at your own decision making and be like, okay, if I'm given a minute to think about what to do I still make the same decision or do I make a different, better decision? Is something that I find to be really helpful. And a lot of the time, if you're given a minute to think about it, you'll probably make a better decision. Like, you know, because obviously when you're in the game, you make all tons of mistakes. I mean, I do too. I could literally go watch 100 replays and analyze them on this show and tell you exactly what all the top players are doing, and then go play a game myself of that matchup and botch absolutely everything. Because when you're in game, these things are much more difficult than just, oh, okay, I paused the replay. Let's give myself 10 minutes to figure it out, right? It's different. It's different when you're playing. So, what's wrong with having map hack? Oh, well, you know, it doesn't really exist any longer. Okay, so you're going Farseer Headers against Night Elf. Said not to talk about the strategy too much, but I would definitely recommend not playing Farseer Headers against Night Elf. There's a couple ways to play it. I think Grubby does it on occasion, which is probably why it's becoming more and more popular. Still don't think it's good. But you can go for like sort of tier 2 tower rushes with it. I just don't think it's necessarily that strong. I think Blade Master is the much better style, but regardless, let's ignore sort of the strategy side of things because you said you're going to get ahead, so there's definitely a way to win with this strat. And we'll see. The Peon Scout I like. You want to see if the Ancient War is here or here. Now, if this was Blade Master, there would be a couple of cool creep routes. For instance, if this peon, and this was because I shared vision that we saw before, typically what you can do with this scout peon, and I recommend you always scout against Night Elf as Orc, because you need to see where the Ancient War is, right? Like, what if the Ancient War is like right here, and they go Beastmaster first and creep level 3 and then tower rush you is good to Peon Scout because they can do a whole bunch of crazy stuff. But typically what the Peon will do is it will first scout this. And if you do scout this, you can make their lives a little bit difficult. Sometimes you can steal the priest. You can block their archer going for the pole. You can attack their wisps. You can pull the creeps onto the Ancient War. You can do a little bit of annoying stuff. But if you scout the Ancient War here, then you obviously know that it's there. But if you don't see it here, then you just assume that it's at the green camp. Right? And if it's at the green camp, then you can sort of just creep this. You can take the item, or you can immediately harass with a Speed Scroll with a Blade Master. But if their Ancient War is at this camp, then there's actually a cool creep route with Blade Master again, where you can creep this camp, this green camp, and then you can grab items, and then you can come take the 12 o'clock. And then what you actually do, because a lot of the time, what they're going to be doing is they're going to creep this, and they're going to creep this, and they're going to pull their expansion, and you can actually come over and you can creep their green camp. And then you end up with about 3 nice items on your blade, because you can buy one from the marketplace, so you can even get a nice consumable. You got level 2.2. And yeah, they might be level 3 Keeper or Demon Hunter, but you'll be in a good spot item-wise, and then you can find them and pressure them. That's a decent creep route. But with the Farseer, I think just harassing right away might be the best play. Just harassing right away. We'll see, though. Still like the Peon Scout for those sort of decisions to be made, though.
Work complete.
This is why a Peon Scout is also nice, because it's annoying, and honestly, when you're not at the top level, when you're not like 2000 MMR, you know, people mess up Ancient War creeps all the time. I saw Hitman. I was playing 2v2 with him. Here's me, my daily throw Hitman under the bus statement. He lost his Ancient War to the green camp on Turtle Rock 2 days ago when I was playing 2v2 with him. The green camp on Turtle Rock. So everyone loses their Ancient War, everyone gets pressured, everyone gets flustered, so Peon Scout making their lives a little bit more difficult is good. It's good to do.
Work complete.
Okay, nothing wrong with the build order. You're creeping, I would say maybe harassing would be better. But we know it's a Demon Hunter now. This is kind of where it sucks to play Farseer, because Mana Burn's really good, but Keeper's also really good against Headhunters. Now, the reason why I don't think this is too good of a strat to play as the Orc player, because if the Night Elf player does this, this is what I think is a really good response against it. You can do this with pressuring like this with the Demon Hunter, or creeping level 3, which is made easier if you creep the Merc camp first. But you pretty much just spam archers, get a Naga at tier 2, and just continuously pressure. Because Night Elves, their archers trade favorably against Headhunters until they're Berserkers, because they have a Loon's Grace, and they're just better than Headhunters early on. Demon Hunter is better than Farseer, and then you get a Naga, and you just continuously trade favorably. They won't have a shop early, you can cancel that, you'll have Moonwells back at home. Many good reasons to just be very, very aggressive as the Night Elf here against the Orc, which makes it difficult to play Farseer Headhunters against Night Elf. But still, this is all good. You should build the shop now. There's a couple of ways to play it tier 2. We can go for Shamans, which is standard against Keeper. Headhunter Shaman, go in tier 3, Bloodlust Berserkers. Against Demon Hunter, we could either go for a Bestiary and go for Kodo Raider, or we could go for Torn Totem and go tier 3 and go for Walker Torn behind Berserkers. There's like 3 options, kind of. Torn Chieftain tends to be the standard secondary hero, though. Shadowhunter 3rd. That's all pretty well established, although, you know, I think there's only been like one Lin game where he actually went Farseer against Night Elf that I remember, so there's not a well-established top tier of what the Orc players do. Clawbotter, Warcraft 3 with the 22 months, thank you. Appreciate you. Yeah, and our opponent here is actually doing this pretty good. Just continuously trading. Making sure to mana burn, spamming archers. I think he's been continuously producing archers. Yeah, seems like he has been. Which is good. This is the right way for him to do it. The right thing for us is to try to go for this 12 o'clock and hope that our opponent isn't. because we really want to keep this Demon Hunter also off level 3. So if we can sort of take a valuable camp and then maybe come and creepjack him, or force him to pressure us, it's still pretty good. Because if this Demon Hunter gets level 3, it's very, very rough for us. And another option at tier 2 would be to go for like a Naga second tower rush, which is probably how I would play Farseer. Say, for instance, I play Farseer Headhunters against a random player, going back to the random player thing. And they get Night Elf, and I'm like, okay, shit, I have a Farseer against random. I don't like this personally. I would just tower rush on tier 2. I get a Naga, pull 3 peons, maybe get like, against Demon, probably a Bestiary, or against Keeper, maybe a Spirit Lodge. I just push. Hope for the best. That's what I would do.
Work complete.
Okay, greater heal. We're a little bit afraid there, I think, of the Demon Hunter coming in, but if we saw there was a greater heal, we could have gone in for it. And even if we have to town portal, it's totally fine. And our shop, is up over here. That's good, we can get salves. We're protecting the item, this is totally fine. Torn Chieftain second, that's good. I think that's the right way to do it. And now what we can go for, I think this is something I pointed out last time because it was Orc vs. Human, the last replay you submitted. And this is something that you mentioned, I didn't even think of doing that. I hadn't done that a lot. And that's when your Farseer reaches level 3, against Undead and Human in particular, but in this situation, I don't see any reason to not. Your Torn Chieftain is going to come out. You have plenty of creeps left over. You could even creep this 12 o'clock. You could solo creep the Torn Chieftain, and you can continuously pressure with the Farseer on level 3. And yeah, you might get mana burned, but he might not be level 3 himself yet. Yeah, not getting salves was a mistake, but I think that was just, I think that is what it is. I think that's just a mistake, which is fine. But yeah, pressuring with this Farseer while creeping with your secondary hero is a very, very strong play here. For instance, I would assume, and it's Echo Isles, it's a very easy map to assume, he's at one of these 3. So you can very easily just run over here, check this. If he's not there, then he's here. Let's see where he is right now. He's in not any of those places, but thinking back to the route we were going to take, we would run past here, and what do you know, we'd be able to find him. And then we don't actually need to fight him with just a Farseer. We just follow him around, and then when he starts creeping, we summon wolves and we just start attacking archers. In the meanwhile, he's slowed down from creeping, and our Torn Chieftain is power creeping because headhunters are very efficient at creeping. All good things. All good things. Oh, we used double clarity? I think it was just an error. Not the end of the world. Those things happen. So that'd be a really good play here to do, and that's something that you were lacking last month. And sometimes when we power creep to a level 3 first hero, there's a little bit of downtime. I think Undeads feel this most of all. When we're waiting for our second hero, we've already crept level 3, and we don't really know what to do. This would be a really good thing to do, is you just run your Farseer and start harassing him, and then actually just move the Headhunters over here and prepare them to creep your TC. That would, again, going back to the game flow thing, that would help the sort of flow of this game. Yeah, this is a difficult fight, but we still got mana, we have a greater heal. Do we have a speed scroll or anything? No, because the shop was out of position. Oh, we do have a speed scroll here. Oh, Naga out of position. Good stomp. Greater heal use. Nice. Oh, little block, little block. Oh, nice. We can use the mana pot. Oh, we already had Chain Lightning. Oh, that's good. So, we've officially gotten ahead. Right? This is the first stage. Now, this isn't a game-winning position, but we've gotten ahead. So what's the right play here, guys? This is the first time. I think we were slightly behind earlier because we lost a Headhunter and we weren't able to really creep too efficiently. But now we've gotten ahead. We killed the Naga, forced on level 1. We forced the TP. The Demon Hunter is still on level 2. We're in a good position. What should we do now that we're ahead? This is literally the moment I fall back instead of keep attacking. Take their expo. Yeah, so there's sort of first thing we have to do is analyze exactly how far ahead are we. Are we far enough ahead that we can just end the game? Are we far enough ahead that we pull 3 peons and just tower rush him? Because he should have already left the game. And he's griefing and making us kill all those buildings. No, we're not at that stage. Are we far enough ahead to expand? No, probably not. Probably not, because he could easily town portal away, heal up his Demon Hunter, creep his Murlocs, get level 3, his Nagas back on time, and push us. And end the game. His army's still strong. We only killed the Naga and forced a TP. So we're not far enough ahead to expand at this stage. So those are two things that would be an overcommitment from us, overestimating how ahead we are. What we can do, though, is we, for instance, know that his secondary hero is dead, our secondary hero is alive. We're in a good position to take a camp aggressively, and we can also, again, go across the map and harass the Farseer. Or harass with the Farseer, harass the Demon Hunter. So the best thing to do right now would be to take the shop, pull the Farseer across the map, and go to, again, if we look at the map, there's only 2 places he's going to go to. He's going to town portal here, he's going to heal up at the Moonwells, and he's going to run down, and maybe he'll creep a green if it's not already gone. It isn't gone. But most likely he's going to creep one of these 2. We go there with the Farseer, we'll creep in this with the Tauren Chieftain, and then we can actually walk across. We can grab heal scrolls, it's going to be daytime, or heal scroll, and we can actually walk over here and steal these camps away from him while pressure with the Farseer. That's the best thing to do here. We're not crazy ahead, but we're ahead enough to get an advantage. We expanded his main. Yeah, just Tiny Great Hall. Go tier 3 immediately, Tiny Great Hall.
Work complete.
So yeah, you could summon wolves here and then go. So I think this is a really good camp to take. But, like, he's probably getting a camp in the meanwhile. Okay, he's getting this. And then he could take one of these for free. Which, in this situation, he really shouldn't be allowed to take any of these. Because it's daytime, he can't Shadow Meld any longer. His Demon Hunter is not level 3, so you will actually maybe get a set of Wolves and a Chain Lightning if you go pressure him. And his archers are just going to die to level 2 Wolves. He'll probably get 2-3 archer kills, and yes, he'll be able to creep this green. Maybe he can creep his expansion, but he definitely can't creep these if you're pressuring with a Farseer. And that's important because you can creep these when your Tauren Chieftain falls back and continues to creep.
We're under attack!
You get the heal scroll as well. This is another good thing. Oh, Potion of Invulnerability. I think heal scroll better than Potion of Invulnerability here.
We're under attack!
I think moving your TC now to the left side of the map would be better because his Naga is going to be back soon. And again, all we did was kill his Naga. And this is what we call an anti-timing, which I think you were a StarCraft player, so you probably know what an anti-timing is. But you're going to tier 3. You're trying to get to tier 3 and get your upgrades. You're waiting for your first raider. You want, you're waiting for your 3rd hero and stuff like that. So you actually don't want to fight right now, whereas there's a world in which he's just massing archers. Maybe he's getting a couple of drives for the wolves. But he very well may be ready for a fight. So I think creeping our side with the TC would be better. And pressuring with the Farseer. No worries, Mr. Noodle, thank you. The ward's well positioned, I like those. I like those. This one maybe not is a little redundant, but this one's really good.
We're under attack!
This is kind of cool. So you know where he is, you're going to take his really valuable camp. And then after you creep this, there's actually a very cool play you can do. And we'll talk about it when you're done creeping this. And this again would get you much further ahead. If he allows you to. His positioning might be countering this. But we have the ward, so we have full vision. Again, Farseer could be here, although it's much more difficult for the solo Farseer to do anything now that there's bears here. So there's one more camp we could take. We could take this. And then there's a interesting play. Let's see how this plays out, though. Okay, you could definitely creep this. Yeah, it kind of didn't work out. It kind of didn't work out just because of how he moved. Because one play we could have done there, which is something that can be on our minds when the map is laid out like this for us. Like, look how the map is. We know this is crapped. We know that he crept this. Well, we do at least. And we saw him creep this. We saw him creep this. We took his turtle. His expansion was gone. We scouted it. So he's only got a Murloc left. So this is a position where if we were able to, let's assume something. Let's assume he creeps this. And then he like walks across the map to try to push our base or to try to steal our camps. This is a position where we take his camp. We still have our town portal. And we actually just run straight up into his base. And we don't actually necessarily take a fight, but if he's running across the map, we're going to get to his base much earlier. So if he wants to pressure our base, we have reinforced burrows, and we get to his base earlier. So we actually forced him to town portal, or we trade favorably in each other's bases. We're going to kill a shop and 2 moonwells. He might be able to kill the bestiary. So no matter what, if he allows us to, we can run into his base, and even if we both just trade town portals when we're creeping this, if we both trade town portals, that's really good for us, because then what do you know? He's here, we TP here, and look how the map is laid out. He's got no creeps left. He's just got a green camp, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 camps left on our side, which we can bare minimum get 2 of before he's able to walk across the whole map and creep jack us. So the map is laid out in a very good way where we almost want to have to town portal. We almost want to fight in his base and just TP back home and then continue to creep. That would have been a really good play, but the way that he walked down didn't really allow us to do that, unfortunately. Because if we TP, he's actually closer to our camps, or closer than he would have been if he was right here, right? That was the idea, but it wouldn't have worked out. How do you counter Bear Dryads? Typically just a tier 2 army, lots of breakers, some mortar teams. Definitely would say getting a Kodo before the War Drums or even before the Raider would be good here. And see, we've crept so much, we still don't even have TC level 3. We should have TC level 3 so long ago, and most likely he's running across the map right now, because where is he? He's probably coming to fight us. There he is. He's grabbing heal scrolls, and he's going to come creep jack us. He doesn't have an orb. Because he recently reached tier 3? I don't know. No, he's got Master Train. He should have an orb. But we don't have TC level 3. We might be able to get it here. But we're really cutting it close. We should have had TC level 3 a long, long time ago. And that heal scroll should have been ours as well. So those are 2 things when we were ahead we allowed him to do that he shouldn't have been able to do. Fight us before TC level 3 and have the heal scroll. Oh, or is he? Can we get TC level 3? Oh, get it! That would be TC 3 if we got it. See, we could have a Kodo here, and then we could just eat this bear. That stomp could have been a level 2 stomp. I'm not sure if Hex or Heal Wave is better here. I think I probably would have panic skilled Heal Wave right here. Because my TC was low. But, I mean, if you had another stomp, you could kill the Demon Hunter. But he's got a heal scroll potion of vulnerability. This might be a position where you can just town portal away. And you're close enough where you can heal up and not allow him. He might be able to steal this away from you, but you can at least not allow him to get these 2 camps. Yeah, I think you TP here. I think this is a TP. Which again is tough to make. This is back to the point of like it's hard to do these things in game. Because I just had to take 20 seconds to sort of be like, yeah, I think you TP. Right? But you're going for the focus fire. If you had another stomp, I think this would be a great play. But yeah, this is rough now. Because let's remember, we only killed his Naga earlier. It seemed like we did a lot, but we only killed his level 1 Naga and forced the town portal. We did barely kill any units. I don't think we killed any units. So his army is still as strong as it would have been. All we did was kill his Naga. And yeah, now this is probably GG. It's probably GG. There's a few things, like we didn't have the heal scroll, our TC wasn't level 3, and we got caught out of position. So now there's a spot where we're very far behind. So there's kind of only one play right now. We need to buy time, And I think we honestly, at this stage, need to just give up all these camps. Yeah, he's going to creep this. Like, we might be able to scrape a fight together because he uses heal scroll and protection scroll and stuff, but double clarity again. Oh, did he? Oh, just a mistake. It's fine. Clarities don't stack, in case you're wondering. I think the only play we have is to just force a TP and hope he doesn't creep these camps. Similar play to what we were doing earlier. Sending wolves down here wouldn't be a bad idea, knowing that he's very far ahead. We should always assume that our opponent may expand when they win a fight. So sending a wolf there to scout this would be good. But I think we kind of have to heal up, run cross map, force a TP, TP back ourselves, and hope to get these camps when we both trade TPs. I think that's the only way we salvage this game. In the meanwhile, macroing and not losing anything. I think that's the only possible way. Because if we go to try to fight over these camps, we're not going to win the fight over these camps. And we got raiders, so we could pretty easily force a town portal. So, like, what he should be doing is probably creepjacking us right now. Wait, what the hell? Okay, he did it for us. So just assume this is how it would have worked out if we ran to his base. Yeah, definitely more of an investment into salves would be good. Your heroes have twice now been low, and you haven't actually salved them up. But, I mean, as long as you're not fighting, you don't really want to be salving while you're power creeping anyway. You see a lot of top orcs just, like, wait to salve until after they're completely done creeping. Little things, not the end of the world, these things. You're prioritizing attack upgrades, which is good. I think only macro-wise you could have gotten the Kodo earlier. Again, you're sort of missing out on the Wolf Scouts here, because although we know he has an expansion, this should still be a time where you should scout if he is expanding, because he won a fight so one-sidedly. You should be definitely sending wolves across the scout. You should also be sending a wolf to scout, is he pushing me to just win the game? In which case, you obviously want to avoid that fight, so if you scout him with a wolf running across the map to push you, you actually just want to go and attack him too, because you do not want to take a direct fight right now. Yeah, it seems like you're a little bit afraid of salves. Don't be afraid of salves. They're real good. It's 400 health for 33 gold. This is 250 for, what is it, like 150 gold? What's the health pot nowadays? They got nerfed. Heal scroll again is going to be very valuable. So this is good if we can cancel this and get out. This is really good. We definitely don't want to cancel this and take a fight. Yeah, we just want to focus everything on this, cancel it, and TP away right now, probably. But also just running away is fine. This is not a fight, though, we're going to win. Kill one bear. We could actually devour both these bears. Actually winnable, kind of, if we get double devour. Heal scroll would probably help us win this fight. Oh, Unlucko. Potion of invulnerability. No, he didn't use it. So we actually won the fight. Pretty impressive. Bear comes in, we can eat that bear. Level 3 Shadowhunter, level 2 Heal Wave. Do we win here? Did not think we were going to win this game. Unless this is another stage where we get ahead. Yeah, Heal Scroll and Dust would be very helpful, because then we could actually commit onto these archers. Okay, we killed the Expo. Definitely try to get some of these archers. We still have a TP. We also have a speed scroll. Okay, nice. Behind this, just macroing. Good. Yeah, Demon Hunter, unfortunately, is probably just going to kill everything here. But we have level 5 Farseer, so maybe we could turn around and fight him. Oh. Oh, the Shadow Hunter.
Our hero has been slain.
So is this Demon Hunter, what's his experience at? Alright, he's not quite on his way to level 6, but he's getting to the scary part. So right now, I would say definitely the main focus should have been... I mean, that's a little rude. The main focus should have been probably just killing the expansion and getting out. And then going for the archers was fine, but I think when the Demon Hunter got back, just TPing away, because the thing about a Demon Hunter with Orb is he can kind of just kill everything. And you need to heal up, you need to get your TC back. I think this is a stage where we could have killed the expansion, TP'd out, and then Tiny Great Halt. Probably, before we overextended. Because our whole goal should have just been to kill the expansion there, and the fact that we were able to win the fight and actually kill his Naga and kill most of the bears, this is a stage where we could fall back in Tiny Great Hall. Not really committing to try to get the... like, to try to win the game here. I think, again, we kind of, like, overestimated how ahead we were. In that we could actually win the game. Okay, TC back from the tavern. Shadowhunter will be still back.
Attack.
Yeah, cancel Expo, Eat Bears, TP. Yeah, so even like TPing earlier. But then if he TP'd earlier, he wouldn't have got the Naga kill, so it was kind of, it was tough to sort of judge that. Like, for instance, I would have never taken that fight. I would have never taken that fight. I would have just dived for the Expo and then either speed scrolled or TP'd away. And then continued to sort of play the more lame game. But I mean, you took the fight, you won the fight, fair game.
We're under attack.
Yeah, but I think all this has been an overextension. The up to the point of, again, I'm saying that's what I would have done, but I think it only has been considered an overcommitment up to the point you ran around here, and then once those creeps aggroed and the Demon Hunter was chasing, I think you just either, you didn't have a speed scroll, so I think you just TP out. I think you just TP out, heal up, buy a tiny, and then just get both your heroes back, and you're in a perfectly fine position. Because he has no bears currently, or he had no bears. His Naga was still not out. His Naga might be out soon. No, he actually forgot about it, so even longer. So I think you just tiny, and you're in a totally commanding position. So again, we were talking about sort of, is he far enough ahead to push and win the game when we were at the tavern earlier? No. Was he far enough ahead to expand? Well, earlier he wasn't. He was just far enough ahead to maybe creep a little bit aggressively and pressure with the Farseer while getting a secondary hero level advantage. In this case, he's not far enough ahead to push and end the game like he tried to do, but he is far enough ahead to just go for an expansion. Going for the bears here wouldn't be a bad play. Do you win this game, though? Or do we keep fighting until the Naga comes out? Because we're still trading favorably. But if the Naga comes out and we lose more heroes, the Demon Hunter's just going to kill everything. But even behind this, like, say we don't even want to go back and TP in Tiny Great Hall, all this fight could have had an expansion behind it as well. Because it's very hard to close this game out on one base. Okay, now we're getting heal scrolls, which is good. Yeah, so even like a slow expansion, although I wouldn't recommend. Okay, now we're getting it. But now this is such a kind of a late expansion that if his Naga comes out, it should be out pretty soon. And he continues to macro bears. He gets like 4 or 5 bears, which he is about to have. And he just walks across the map with his Naga when it's out. He could actually just win because you've invested that expansion that hasn't paid off yet. And you haven't healed up your heroes entirely yet. So I think overall, you're saying like you don't really know how to close it out when you get ahead. I think be more passive, which is counterintuitive to when you get an advantage. But you're definitely very aggressive when you get ahead. Because even earlier, you walked across the map and started stealing his camps away, right? And the cool thing about expanding at this stage in the game as well is because we have level 3 wolves, we can actually play the hit and run game, scouting with level 3 wolves while expanding. And like if he goes to kill our expansion, we just run into his base because we have level 3 wolves on him the whole time. If he ever tries to do a counter expand, we can cancel because we have level 3 wolves. So these are like pretty much map hack for you if you want on small maps. Decent stomp. But in these longer fights, the orb really starts to kill everything. See, now we're in a similar fight to where we were at the expansion earlier. So this whole time, he's been trying to recover. He doesn't want to fight until his Naga comes out. He kind of was, which was a mistake from him. And notice, before his Naga out, you were actually trading pretty favorably. And this whole time, you probably could have mined maybe 1,000 gold off an expansion. Because Tiny Grey Hall gets up immediately. Tiny Great Hall is really, when you're on tier 3 as an Orc player, that should be what you should be thinking about as your win condition. The Tiny Great Hall should be your win condition in most matchups. Especially against like Undead, when you win a fight, or when you kill their expansion, when you're super ahead, you just immediately Tiny Great Hall. You should always think like, how do I close this game out? You close it out with Tiny Great Hall. Shadowhunter back. Again, yeah, I think heal salve's definitely necessary here. Clarity and Wolves to scout would be good. We don't know if he's expanding again. He could be. Yeah, he is. And in fact, actually, 2 Wolves could just cancel that on their own right now. Yeah, just Tiny and AFK, that could be totally fine. Because we had level 5 Farseer, so we could have perfect scouting with the level 5 Farseer, and the map is crept out. We could just sit here, or sit right here and wait for an attack towards the expansion, then just counterattack. Whatever, we could do a lot of things, but it all revolves around having that expansion. Because Night Elf is more efficient than Orc, because we have to pay for healing in most cases. They have Rejuve, they have Moonwells, and they have Orb of Venom, so they do, if they take a fight and then get out, they're full health, and all your stuff is hurt. And you gotta use Clarities to get mana back. His Demon Hunter doesn't really need to use Clarities. Naga is always efficient with low mana. So one base fighting is actually gonna favor the Night Elf. Yeah, now he's probably just gonna kill us.
Work complete.
And at this stage, it's regardless going to be difficult to win. Even if it's like totally like even supply, which the supplies are reversed here. Even if it's totally even supply, the Night Elf is still going to be favored. Because their heroes are just better in the late game. Yeah, he does close it out with level 6. Yeah. So I think overall, just trying to be more passive. Just be more passive than you are. You got ahead at the tavern. I think you fall back with the TC and creep your side. Well, just pressuring with the Farseer alone. The Farseer is good enough. And then when you win the fight at the expansion and kill his Expo, just get out in Tiny Great Hall. You should really try to avoid, especially as Orc, I'm trying to think. The only time you'll really push to try to win the game is in like a Blade Master versus Keeper standard game where you have Grunt Shaman and they have like archers. Then you'll probably push to win the game at times. But really every other matchup against Human, like maybe you'll push their expansion. In Orc Mirror, you'll push pretty often to try to win the game. But yeah, in these sorts of games, not really. You'll always sort of play revolving around that expansion. Can you see a replay of you a Hitman match that went over an hour? Oh, you don't want to see that replay. Didn't he stream it? I don't know. Maybe he didn't. All right, so that's replay 2. I hope that helped. There's definitely a lot to be learned there, but for playing 2 months, Jesus, really, really good. For playing 2 months, you're super ahead. And yeah, the salve thing. Definitely try to use salves more often. But yeah, I like that submission because you asked a specific question, which is cool, and then we can cover that specific question. Pretty dope. Yeah, only 2 months. I don't even think he's played for 2 months. I don't even think he's played for 2 months. I think he's played for like a month and 3 weeks. Yeah, it's crazy good. Crazy good. But there's definitely a lot to learn. But still, like, generally your mechanics, you're very efficient with your creeping. Your macro's decent behind it. It's all good, man. It's all good. You'll be legitimately better than 90% of people probably in another 3 months, if not more. All right. Replay number 3 will be from a guy that submits almost every month. My good friend Break, who's an undead player. You guys might know Break. He submits every month. He submits every month. Yeah, keep sending those replays in, Breeze. I wanna keep track of your progress. So if you're still playing, send them in every month, man. I'd love updates for this. Could be like a saga. So Break, who's an undead player, 1200 MMR. He'll be up against an orc player. He says, "Yo, Carson, thanks to you and GNL, I'm over 1200 MMR. Nice. Still sometimes struggle defending a tower rush. Supply block killed me here. Also unsure about optimal production buildings to make in this situation. I wanted to make meat wagons, but do you need 2 slaughterhouses?" Cool. Yeah, Break, I think, when he first submitted a replay, he was like 1000 MMR, and then he submitted a replay and he was 1100 MMR, and now he's 1200 MMR. PogChamp. Improvement. Very cool. All right, replay number 3, which will be, as I said, Undead versus Orc on Last Refuge. He's playing Grumpy. I recognize the name Grumpy. I think I see him play people on streams all the time. I recognize that. So here's Mr. Break. So we're against an Orc on Last Refuge. I was just going to mention, I think Fast Fiends is actually a very good build against Orc on Last Refuge. It doesn't do well against Blade Master. It also doesn't do well if the Orc just power creeps to level 3, but most often what Orcs, especially at this MMR, are going to do is they're just going to immediately harass you with a Farseer and Headhunters. So this is a really good opener against Orc players in general. I'd say this is good. Oh, he streams as well, Grumpy. Okay, cool. So going into this, I'd be assuming I'm going to be up against a Farseer player with Headhunters, and they're going to immediately harass me. And in which case, no issues so far. This is perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. The strength of going Fast Fiends, of course, is you have 2 Fiends by the time your Death Knight comes out. And you can delay your tech a little bit longer, get even 3 Fiends, not 4 Fiends before tech, don't do that. But like you can get a 3rd Fiend. And you can, most of the time, actually trade almost favorably against the Farseer Headhunters player, who's also going lots of range units at tier 1, right? Good, your base build is good. I'm still trying to decide whether or not blocking your base is good against Farseer or not. I don't know. Don't know.
Summoning is complete.
Of course, against a Blade Master, you would like to. And what you could always do is sort of build... This gets a little bit complicated, of course, but you could build your second Zig here. And then once you find out whether or not it's a Blade Master or a Farseer, depending on if you want to block your base or not against Farseer, you could put it right there. But I think, all in all, it's probably fine. Especially when the Farseer hits level 3, he'll have to, like, run up here and pop the wolves over. So I think it's alright. I'm still trying to figure out what's best. I know Happy, for instance, does block his base. He blocks his base initially, and then he opens it up, like, up here. That's how Happy builds his base here. And he'll eventually mine the trees.
Summoning is complete.
You know, no clear cut. Going for the critter. All fine. You don't necessarily have to go for the critter here, because you can just get skeletons from your graveyard with this build. Okay, he comes in and attacks you, Zig. He's not... This is not a thing. Now, this actually used to be a thing. Fun little side tangent. Playing against undead on... Oh, I'm going to need to open my door in a sec. Playing against undead on Twisted Meadows, you used to be able to speed scroll across with a Blade Master and cancel their second Zig. You guys hear that? I gotta let my cat in, one sec. You used to be able to speed scroll across and cancel their second Zig, but with a Farseer, this doesn't work, so he doesn't have to be worried about this. One sec. It's alright, Kitty, I'm coming. I'm coming. There you go. Alright. My cat might jump on my keyboard, but that's alright. So this is not something we have to be worried about. We should just be focused on maybe putting some damage on the Farseer here, maybe putting damage on the Wolves. The main thing you can be focused on is he doesn't want to give you experience, so if you should not be spreading damage on these wolves, you should be focusing everything on one wolf at a time to force him to resummon them. And then once he resummons them, knowing that the cooldown for the wolves, the next set, is going to take a while, just again, focusing a wolf again. Oh, sorry, kitty. You guys want to see my cat? Here we go. Hi. How are you? You want to come down here? Because you can't stay up there. Come on. There we go. Come on. Yep. Yep. Come on. Come on. Come on. Alright. This is my cat, everybody. She does this about 5 times a day, whenever I'm trying to work. Alright, you good? You gonna stand like that? That's alright. Okay. Alright, and speaking of cats, here's some wolves. His base. So yeah, just focusing on either putting pressure on the Farseer is good here. The Nerubian, I think, is totally fine. I always get a Nerubian when you're being harassed like this. Even Happy gets a Nerubian when he's being harassed by a Farseer. Okay, so this is no issue. But just put some damage on the Farseer when you can, but mostly try to force him to resummon the wolves, and then immediately focus down another wolf so that, you know, he can't resummon them, and then one wolf is absolutely worthless. One wolf is going to do nothing. You need the pair. So if you're able to reduce this down to one wolf, that's why when you see human players and they buy the priest early, they don't run the priest up and just abolish both wolves. They just abolish one. And then the orc player is left with one terrible, lonely wolf that does nothing. 11 to 12 damage. How much damage does an Acolyte do? 9 to 10. All right? I mean, they attack much faster and they have better move speed and a little bit more health, but this is an Acolyte attacking your Ziggurat almost. If you get rid of one of them. So that's why you should always just focus on just get rid of one. In a pair, they're very good, of course, but with just one is terrible. But we don't have to worry. He's never going to get this Zig. He's never going to get this. Never, ever. Never, ever, ever. So this is just lost gold. Like, we might eventually have to repair it, but honestly, if we just had, instead of worried about repairing it, just pressured that one wolf to force a resummon, we would have been totally fine here.
Upgrade complete.
Definitely don't have to repair it too far either. We're just being a little bit inefficient here. Like, let's see. These seem like small things, but let's look how much gold we've missed out on. So there we can see down there. This is how I check it. So we've already missed out on 170 gold. That's almost a fiend. Right? And some of that is based on the fact that Undead actually has to move their workers to build stuff, but almost a fiend. Okay, we saw the... maybe we didn't see the aggro shop. I'm not sure yet. Okay, that coil's good because, you know, you want to be pressuring him off, but I think coiling a Headhunter would be better because even if... And this is really... These sort of details are important because a lot of people get pressured by Farseer Headhunters early as an Undead, and they just sort of lose before the game even gets started. Plus repair costs. Yeah, absolutely, Hydra. They lose before the game even gets started. They lose a Fiend, they have no health in their Death Knight, they use a full Rod and don't get anything. So these details are important. So I think just coiling a Headhunter here, and you're not going to get this kill. He should never allow you, similar to what, you know, talking about Wantu's never going to give you a last hit with a Potom earlier. Grumpy should never allow you to kill a Headhunter. That just shouldn't happen until you have Aura. But still, what you can do is force him to not be able to use this Headhunter. You just coil it and get a couple of auto attacks, and he has to run it back here until his shop is up. And then you do that again with the next Headhunter, and then he summons wolves. Oh, what do you know? 2 Headhunters are low, and he's only got wolves. What do you do then? You just focus one of the 2 wolves to force him to resummon, and you're totally fine. But what you're not going to be able to do is force this Farseer back. You're never going to be able to do enough damage, really, to force him back. Because he's always going to have Headhunters and wolves attacking you while you're trying to focus the Farseer, which is the tankiest of all. Right, so again, these skeletons should be, plus that coil pressuring this Headhunter, and this Headhunter would already be below 200 health, just from a coil and 2 auto attacks from the skeletons. And he would be effectively out of the fight. Now he'd be at 100 health. We're not going to be able to cancel this shop, that's alright. But as soon as I see this shop, this aggro, I'd be very worried about something. Okay, so we're being tower rushed. So, it's important not to overreact here. We shouldn't freak out here. Alright, we don't need to freak out. We're totally fine. We're totally fine. So, how should we react to this? Well, we're getting a 3rd fiend. We can literally just tech. And what we should just do is we should just go back to our graveyard, get more skeletons, and just ensure, like, we can continuously cancel these towers. But even if we don't cancel these towers, as long as he doesn't get towers up in range of our main or our buildings, then we're fine. Any towers getting up are fine, as long as they're not in range of any of our buildings. But ideally, we'd like to cancel them. But right now, we just back up. We already canceled the tower. We killed the Headhunter. We get more skeletons. We can even wait for a 2nd charge. And then he's going to eventually press forward. If he doesn't, we can just run back and cancel the towers. But right now, what we don't want to be doing is overcommitting to try to trade with the Headhunters, because we eventually need to get back here to cancel the towers. So just falling back and getting more skeletons. Let's not forget, we can pull our ghouls if we need to as well. So we're teching. I think getting a 3rd ghoul here would be wise, because our lumber is going to get, like, low. Because we're going to be repairing, right? We're going to have to pull these ghouls on occasion. Probably right now would be a good play. And we're going to have to build, you know, early slaughterhouse at tier 2 and stuff like that. So the thing to do right now, this is actually an easy defense. We just get skeletons, we pull the ghouls, and we just fight. And then once we win the fight, we just run over here and cancel the towers. Easy peasy. In the meanwhile, we produce a 3rd ghoul. But we should not be afraid to pull the boys. Oh, and also this Acolyte's forgotten about. Those are mistakes that we can't help, really. Because it's not a cognitive mistake. It's just a mechanical mistake, right? I think that's the right way to put it. More skeletons, definitely necessary. We should be spamming these skeletons when we're being pressured like this. Just spamming them every time off cooldown. We're going to lose a fiend. It honestly doesn't even matter. Doesn't even matter. This Headhunter should be dead as well. Oh. Another mistake, but at least this mistake is going to allow us to fix our Acolytes. And again, here, just pull the ghouls and go cancel the towers. Just keep pressing forward. We're going to have another charge of Rod here we can use. Perfect. We could cancel this 1 tower. If we start attacking this tower right away, we could cancel it. This one would get up, but look at him. He's got nothing left. These 2 towers, when they get up, that's when it becomes a little bit difficult. Still, it's alright. He's got some towers up, but again, they're not in range of our buildings, so it's totally fine. Somebody asked, is it worth putting like an aggro spirit tower? I don't think it's really necessary. I don't think it's 100% needed. 3rd ghoul still missing. See, like these towers, these are the towers we need to cancel for sure. Okay, 3rd ghoul still missing, but behind that we just keep building fiends. We should get that 3rd Zig, just more passive. Get another Rod here. And like, he might be building towers here, but like, honestly, as long as he's not getting towers like on our Blight, we should be fine. And we don't have to be worried about getting this forward Zig. We're totally fine not getting this. Because we're gonna have meat wagons very soon anyway. So we just want to play clean, we just want to macro clean and not allow him to get towers up too aggressively. And he's spending so much snaking towers towards us that our army is just going to be better. Look at his army right now. It's 1 grunt and 1 headhunter and a farseer. And he's got this low headhunter. He's going to spend all of his resources trying to slowly snake towers. In the meantime, what are we building? We're building a lich. We're spending gold on rod and necromancy. We're building a statue. We're building meat wagons. We're just going to have a much better army that, like, even if he's getting towers up more forward, it doesn't matter. We're going to have a better army. So I think overcommitting to, like, defensive stuff is not what we need right now. We just need a macro.
Upgrade.
Okay, 4 fiends now. So sometimes you'll see people, you ask, like, how do you react exactly, like, what macro stuff. Sometimes you'll see people get 2 slaughterhouse, for instance, when they get tower rushed. Sometimes when they get tower rushed, they'll build 2 slaughterhouse. But I don't think it's necessary here. I don't think it's necessary, because this strat is honestly it's very weak. Like, he doesn't have anything. I think all we need is just 1 slaughterhouse, and just, again, focus on getting our lich, just focus on canceling towers, and not doing things like this, where we're just allowing this orc right now cannot do anything necessarily. If our Zig is passive, he can't do anything. We're sort of giving him value in building these forward. We're allowing him to do something with his tiny army. So now we've given him sort of 2 slaughterhouse cancels, or 2 ziggurat cancels. This grunt should be dead. That'll give us level 2, which is nice. So this tower we should be canceling, for sure. Earlier rather than later. Same with this one. And again, we can pull the ghouls to help us do this. Even if we lose them, we can just rebuild them. And without these Zig cancels, we would have already been building. So, like, now, not only is our slaughterhouse late, but our lich is also late because the supplies are reversed. But because we're supply blocked. Because we built this Zig 3 times now. Whereas if we just built it on time here, we'd have had our lich already out. And we wouldn't have lost the resources, so we wouldn't have been able to afford this slaughterhouse already. But for now, in the position we're in, we should pull the ghouls and try to go for these tower cancels. Because we saw this tower coming up. Another rod isn't a bad idea because we are supply blocked. My cat's on my mouse pad, that's alright. We could slow this grunt and probably get the kill if we select this and right click on it. Again, we could cancel these. Again, we could probably cancel these. Even if we lose a fiend for it, we could probably cancel these. I can't see chat right now. My cat's in front of chat. So this game, we're just kind of late on a couple of things. I don't think there was any big micro mistakes. There was a couple of little inefficiencies, but, like, we should already have a meat wagon out, and our lich should have been out probably 30 seconds ago. You imagine if we had Nova right now and a meat wagon with a statue coming up behind? Like, maybe he's tier 2. Let's see what he has. Let's check his base. He's tier 2, right? So he's getting a Demolisher. And he's going to get a second hero, probably a Naga or a Tinker or something. But remember, we would already have a meat wagon and a lich out. What can you also do with the meat wagon? Once it comes out, the earlier it is, you can attack ground here, and then the creeps will try to attack your meat wagon, and they'll run, the towers will attack them, and then they'll have to deal with the creeps, and your meat wagon, and your lich, and GG. So I think we're just a little bit late on a few things, which is why he's able to get these towers up aggressively, and why he's able to actually get a Naga and tech to tier 2. So really the biggest mistake so far has been trying to get this forward Zig up. Just build it back here, and just worry about cleanly macroing. I think this is a fine creep camp to take right now. Again, this slaughterhouse is kind of in a position where it could be canceled. I think we could actually fit it right here. Or even in some cases, like right back here or back here if we mine those trees. But that's not a bad camp to take. Okay, the Lich is out. Obviously, Nova would be good here. Getting double slaughterhouse, which is, you know, we're a little bit late on the first one, so we'll have 2 earlier. I don't think we want to go this far out of our base. I think we still want to be defensive. See, and now again, the Ziggurat giving us more issues. Now we're going to get supply blocks. We can't get meat wagons again, right? It all comes down to the Zig, really, I think is the biggest mistake. Everything else would have been acceptable. Again, I think just going for units here would be better, because you can guarantee get a grunt or 2. You're not going to really be able to guarantee get a hero kill. You built more acolytes, which is good to repair. I think that's a good thing to do. Oh my god, what a war mill. Grumpy. And your supply blocked again, so the meat wagons, they're probably... One sec, let me get my cat off my nose. Thank you. One sec, let's see how early you could have a statue, for instance. Oh my god, my cat's freaking out. Let's see how early you could have gotten that. So, let's assume your tech wasn't late, which I don't think it really was.
Upgrade complete.
It was a little bit late. It was a little bit late, but let's not include that. That's not the end of the world. Because you're going to get a 3rd fiend anyway. Oh, right, I'm looking at the wrong one. Yeah, so your tech is fine. Okay, this is all good. Yeah, your tech is perfectly on time. So let's see, when you hit tier 2... So... You could afford it. You can afford it right now. If you had not gotten the 4th Fiend, you could have gotten the Lich and the Slaughterhouse. And let's see. Let's assume like you're building it right now. And it can't get canceled because you have so many units here. He would just dive and get slowed by the Nerubian and lose it. So you could have built it at 6.5 minutes. How long does the Slaughterhouse take to build? Oh, I just Googled Slaughterhouse. I should probably put Warcraft 3 next to that. What does it take, like 60 seconds? 90 seconds? It takes 60 seconds to build. It takes 1 minute. So right now we're at 6.5 minutes. It should be done by 7.5 minutes. In a perfect world. And a meat wagon takes, let's say, 30 seconds. So 8 minutes, we should have a meat wagon out and attacking him. Let's go to 8 minutes. And 8 minutes is when our slaughterhouse starts to come up. So we should have a meat wagon out. What does he look like right now? He looks like this. He's about to have 1 demolisher out, which is fine. By the time he has 1, we're going to have 2, or even a statue. Right? And then what do? We aggro the creeps. And then we just start attacking his towers. We can put our meat wagon like right here even, and we can put our army right here. We can even use our army to attack the towers too, because he doesn't have reinforced defenses yet. It's only on the way now. That's really all it comes down to. Because people, when they get tower rush, this is pretty common, especially for orc players I've found as well, and I was like this too. They tend to think there needs to be a specific response to getting tower rushed. Like, people tend to think, oh, I need to get towers up myself. Oh, I need to get 2 slaughterhouses. Or whatever. They tend to think they need to do big, sweeping, like, overreactions to being tower rushed. When really, truth be told, when you get tower rushed, all you have to do is just macro really cleanly. Everything normal, but just everything on time and just trading efficiently. And not overreacting and just playing very cleanly. Similar to when you're getting, like, lamed, if you're getting, like, Raider lamed, the proper response to getting Raider lamed isn't to build 6 APs in your base. It's to just macro very cleanly and play very efficiently. Same with when you're being tower rushed. Okay, but now we already saw this, right? The Zig goes down. And we got to kind of like this point, right? War mill block. There's still definitely a shot to defend this. But it's going to be much more difficult because now we know, of course, he's building demolishers as well. And he's actually going to have the demolisher number advantage on us.
Summoning is complete. Our town is under attack.
One ghoul AFK, not going to be the end of the world. The slaughterhouse is probably going to die, though.
Summoning is complete.
We're not supply blocked now, or we are actually, because this is going to give us the supply. See, we really could be, we could be building like a zig here though. We could build a zig even here if we wanted to. We could build it here. We could have built much more safe zigs. See, and these sort of pressures are good within reason. We obviously don't want to tank that much damage on our Death Knight, but pressuring like this is really good because then it forces the meat wagons, or the demolishers back while you have meat wagons out attacking their towers. So this sort of thing is really, really good, but we're sort of in a position where we can't win now. Yeah, that's probably going to seal the deal.
Our hero has been killed.
Yeah, I think the extra acolytes are good too. Definitely shouldn't be pulling any off gold, but getting 2 or 3 extra acolytes is really good in these sorts of situations. Because acolyte repair is really, really strong. Because of course undeads only get 5 workers in most cases. Their repair is better.
Summoning.
Every opportunity you have, you should be attacking the demolishers as well, because it's really difficult to heal them up. Especially if the orc is like losing peons. Like remember you killed that war mill peon, so yeah, pressuring like this is going to be very difficult for him to get back. And then just attacking ground here is good, because if he's trying to repair, it'll also hurt the peons and it'll hurt all these other towers. It spreads the damage a bit, but attack ground is a good play here. And also aggroing the creeps would be good right here. But these are just like small things, right? It all really just comes down to our Lich should be on time, our first meat wagon should be on time, right? What's up, Grumpy? That's what it all comes down to. Don't think Acolyte repair rate is faster? I'm pretty sure it is. Oh. Lich could have actually lived there, but that's alright.
Our hero has been killed.
Oh no! Okay, we do get it. Oh, now we can actually kill the Naga. Winnable? No, it needs to get quite a bit lower. Oh, we actually could kill the Naga. One more hit and the coil is dead. Alright. Still winnable. Still winnable. A statue would be really nice. We have 2 meat wagons. We just got to repair this guy up, get our Lich back, and maybe a statue would be nice in the back. And again, aggroing the creeps here would be really, really useful. Not that he's not going to be able to kill the creeps if we aggro them, right? But he's going to have to attack the creeps instead of attacking you. And any time spent attacking the creeps instead of you is good. Honestly, that mistake might have actually lost us the game. Right, that right there. That might have lost us the game, actually. I think up till that point, we still had a good shot. I think up till losing both those meat wagons. If we kept those both alive and just repaired them both, even if we bring them back here, repair them both, and just wait for our Lich to get back and then go engage back again, I think we'll be totally fine. So tricky now. There's been a couple mistakes that are allowing us to get, not allowing us to get back in it, sort of. Another position where a statue would help out a ton here. Yeah, one thing we could also be thinking about, which would help us out, would be the actual positioning of the meat wagon. Like, instead putting the meat wagon here, right, where we have our Nerubian and we can always attack with the Halls of the Dead, and we're close to the shop, and then putting our army, like, right here, and just letting the meat wagon just attack ground on all 3 of these towers. Well, our army sits right here, and then, like, if you think about it, how is he going to attack our meat wagon with his Demolisher if it's right here instead of right here? Well, obviously, he can just come on the high ground and attack it if it's right here. But if it's here, he's actually got to bring it out front, because right here he cannot position it. He can put it right there, in which case it's going to die. But we have to think about how can he attack our meat wagons with his demolishers. And if we put it right here, there's actually no way. He's kind of checkmated in that way. If our army's here, our meat wagons are here. Yeah, and at this stage, when we're against this many towers, our army should really only serve as a way to defend the meat wagons. It should never really serve as a way to kill the towers. Only when we've finally, like, dealt with his army should that be what we do. Forced. It's alright. So, like, if we just held position here and the meat wagons are here, I think we're still in a position. There's a few times when we still could have probably won. This might actually be one of them. Oh, he's starting to get raiders and stuff, though. See, again, we're trying to go for sort of plays with our main army, and that's been the few times we've overcommitted, right? When we sort of lost our army here, when we just lost our Lich right there, it's been because we've actually been trying to use our army to do things within the tower range. Whereas if we just hold position our army in this position and just let our meat wagons do everything, that's the best thing for us to do, right? But it's difficult to defend tower rushes because your units by default want to attack his units. They don't actually want to attack the buildings. So if there's a unit and a building in range, your DK is just going to dive for the unit. Yeah, and his army's honestly too big now. Because the idea of you holding this is all leveraged on the fact that you actually have the stronger army at all times. So he can't fight if he's not in range of his towers. That's what this is all about. So if ever he gets to the point where he has the better army, then that's it's, well, you know, impossible to win, because then he can push and he can also fall back to his towers. Yeah, and honestly, I never came. You're never really thinking about, like, I need to build my base in case I get tower rush. You're not really thinking about that, you know? Yeah, coolbreeze. That definitely would have helped you a ton in the last replays, is the using heal salves a bit more. Yeah, they're the most efficient healing in the game per gold, in fact. For an item. For an item.
Our hero.
I tower every race. Alright, the altar's gonna go down. That's gonna seal the deal. Yeah, so I think the main takeaway from this is to just think, like, you don't need to do anything particular to defend a tower rush, especially as an undead. All you need to do is just play a clean game behind it. Cancel the towers when you can, allow him to overcommit into your base, but mostly just focus on, I need to get my Lich on time, I need to get my first meat wagon on time, my first statue on time, I need to get my third ghoul on time, remember, was also forgotten about. And just playing a clean macro game behind it and not allowing him in the meantime to get towers in range of your buildings, which you never actually allowed him to get towers in range of your buildings this game. But you should, in theory, because he's spending so much lumber and gold on towers while you're teching and building units, you should, in theory, always have the stronger army, and that's what you should sort of play into. For instance, when an orc gets tower rushed, the best thing for them to do is not to build a war mill and to build towers and demolishers most of the time. The best thing for an orc to do when they get tower rushed, for instance with Mir, is just to continuously build units. Right? Continuously build units and just buy potions of healing and stuff. I did an episode on that, the Blade Master defending Farseer Firelord tower rushes. Right? It's all about just a clean macro game, not spending resources on things we don't need to. Lynn always masses demos, to be honest. When? After the towers have already gotten up, yes. But the goal is to not allow the towers to get up if you're talking about an orc. And if you're talking about him against Night Elf, that's because the towers are already up, because they hide the APs, and then they walk them over. And if you miss the APs, then, well, I guess I gotta build demolishers, because you, of course, can't fight into you can't fight into 3 APs. But if the towers have not gotten up, then you just focus on canceling the towers and just macroing cleanly behind it. Yeah. All right. Thank you for the submission break. Appreciate you. Hope you learned something. It's always a little bit complicated because there's a lot of things. The thing about tower rushes is there's a lot of playmaking potential for both players. So there's a lot of things that you could do. Those weren't tower rushes. Those were mass header all-ins. Well, they tower behind it. Farseer, Firelord. They bring 3 peons in tower as well. At least that's the strat that I covered. It wasn't like 2 barracks or anything. Okay, we have 2 more replays. The 5th replay is going to be something a little bit different. I'm not going to cover the whole replay for the 5th replay, but for the 4th replay, it will be Mr. who's in the chat, Gorgon, who's a human player. He'll be playing against Night Elf. He's 1550 MMR. The map will be on Shallow Grave. And he says, I really liked Chemiko's strat he played not too long ago. Archmage and Paladin 2nd with Rifle and Knights. 1550 MMR. Would like to see what I can do better. Thank you. Is this the expo into Pally rifles? Not Pally rifles, but Paladin 2nd with rifles. Because I've seen that. I've seen that from Sock, but into rifles and knights, I haven't seen. If anyone has this replay that he's mentioning, I'd like to see it, because I don't know if I know this strat. And if I had the replay of him doing this strat, I'd be able to compare between the two and see where the differences are. But I haven't seen this. I haven't seen this. Stickler, thank you for the raid, bud. How you doing? I have not seen this replay. But regardless, let's go in and I'll take a blind look and see if there's any places maybe that could use change. All right, here we go. So Shallow Grave, a map I believe we covered last month, but not a map I'm too experienced, at least in playing. I do know the map, but I haven't played it a lot. But Lightning Shield creep here. Mercenary camp close by, which is helpful, but difficult to creep. Expansion, relatively easy to creep. A red camp over here. Now the labs are pointing into the middle, whereas they used to point out to the left. They kind of have out-of-position shops, similar to how Autumn Leaves is, where the shops are a little bit rough to get to, which doesn't impact this matchup too much, honestly. It's other matchups it would impact. Alright, so I don't know what the strat is. I don't know what the build is, so we'll just see and we'll comment as we go. Obviously, I think the best way to play against Undead as a human player is to fast expand. And on this map, there's the added bonus that you can actually creep the mercenary camp first and fast expo with mercs, which is nice. That also makes it a poor Cryptlord map, because you can scout if they're going for a Cryptlord expo, and you can actually push with mercenaries, which again is good. Oh wait, is this a Night Elf? Oh, I had it written down as... Oh, I had it written down as Night Elf. Oh. Did I get myself confused? Whatever. One sec. Yeah, okay, I'm not confused. I just miswrote it down. Oh well, it says Night Elf on the screen. Ignore that.
Job's done.
It's human versus undead.
Job's done.
So yeah, I think Fast Expo is best on this map, and this could still be a Fast Expo into Pallies at Tier 2, which we can talk about. That's something Sock's done. Dead Night Elf, maybe. Yeah, maybe. But we'll see, we'll see. And I think creeping the mercenary camp might be not bad first, but you could also just creep this guy first. The cool thing also about this map is if you creep, say, like this camp or this camp and then go straight for your expansion, you have a lot of, I think this is especially good against Night Elf when you're expanding, you have a lot of like close camps, like this green, you have this green, you kind of have this green, but not really. And if you save this orange camp, you have this as well. which would come into play if you go for the mercenary camp first. But it's good to have creep camps close by when you go for an expansion that you can creep safely to secure level 3 while you're still trying to power build your expansion. This is pretty cool. Isn't Fast Expo a bit risky? Maybe. Maybe it's risky. I don't know if I would say risky, though. Because it is standard. So would standard be considered risky? I don't know. Alright, 5 militia, footy scouting, all good things. You're going to see if it's a Crypt Lord or not. If it is a Crypt Lord, I would say you could just go instantly for the Merc Camp, even. Oh no, that's rough. That hurts, but it won't make a big difference. You can just put all those on gold if you need. Footman gonna see it's looking like Ted Fiends. Ted Fiends with a second Zig? What the hell? This is different. Right, looks like we're playing one base. In which case we could just focus on getting level 3 Archmage and not taking a ton of economic damage. Because a lot of the time what undeads will try to do when humans play one base is they'll try to play a more like run-by style. They'll try to go for peasants a lot and just lower your lumber knowing that you're going to need that and knowing that you're obviously not on 2 bases so that you're, if you do economic damage, you're actually just fully getting ahead from it. So that's one way. So as long as we play defensively, get a tower after tech. War 3 history with the raid. Thank you, thank you. How'd your show go? What games did you cover today, War 3 history? So, what's interesting here is, did he see our tech? Let me see. Did he see our tech? Because I kind of like this play of pressuring the DK, but I like it for a specific reason. Let's see. Did he scout our tech?
Job done.
Let me actually go to the undead's perspective.
Summoning is complete. Summoning is complete. Summoning is complete.
He sees there's no 4th farm, but it could be like in the back or something. Okay, now he kind of sees there's no 4th farm, but he still doesn't know for sure. Okay, he doesn't see our tech, so this is cool. So he thinks we still could be expanding, so we can play into this. This is why I think this is a really good play. Pressuring the DK right here, forcing him back to his side of the map, and then it's not as though he's going to fall back and start creeping, because he thinks, I need to get back, I need to bring my first Fiend, and I need to start, like, pressuring. There's even a world in which he's, like, backpacking over a second rod, because he might be thinking, oh, you're going to expand, but we, in fact, know we're going to tech. So this sort of pressure is really good. And then you can just fall back and just creep green camps. And he's going to be running around not knowing what to do, thinking, oh, I gotta wait for him to expand, because he hasn't seen your tech yet. He doesn't know. So you'll be creeping while he's just running around waiting for you to expand, this is a really good position to be in. Great games. Creo versus Grubby, Deadman versus Check, Todd versus Soju, and Fav versus Shobu? I don't actually know Shobu. I've never heard of him before. Yeah, so this is super good, I think. This is perfect. And then right now, like, you just sneak off and fall back and just go creep greens. And he's probably going to run immediately back to the expansion. Or that's what most undeads would do. Because when he loses you, he's thinking, oh, he's calling militia and going to the expo right now. Ah, Swain. Okay, I know Swain. Especially, for instance, if you chased him with, like, only your Archmage, and you, like, summon a Water Elemental and send your footies down, but then you just creep this instead, and you're chasing him with your Archmage, he's, again, going to be thinking he's expanding. And that's still what he's thinking right now. In most cases. So yeah, I like this. I like this. Getting a lumber mill, getting a blacksmith, standard one-base human stuff, no issues. Okay, now at this stage, he knows you're not expanding, though, which is why I think this green camp wasn't necessarily the best. I think when you lose the DK, you just go back and creep passively. You creep like this camp, and then you creep like this camp, because then you know for sure he's going to run all the way here and be like, oh, no. And, like, what is he going to do? Is he going to take this camp away from you? No, he's probably going to fall and, like, creep this or something, because he can't, with one Fiend, creep this camp. So that's why I think falling back more passively would be good. Because he's made a mistake by not confirming whether or not you're attacking. If he had confirmed whether or not you're attacking, I think everything so far is totally fine. Okay, 5 footies. Debatable whether or not to get defend. I think some people would, some people wouldn't. This is good, you're not overcommitting the footman. I like this as well.
Job's done.
Yeah, this is a very, very good early game so far.
Job's done.
I think falling back and trying to get level 3 would be nice here. We'd put a lot of damage on him, but... Like, even again, the similar play to before. Pressuring with just the Archmage, and even a single Water Elemental, and then sending these back to creep like a green, while still being on top of him, not allowing him to creep. Because if you're pressuring him with an Archmage and a single Water Elemental that you have, when he goes to creep this, you're going to be on top of him right now. And he's got his Skeleton Purge, he's got Lightning Shield, it's pure chaos for him. This is difficult. You can get last hits, so, you know, falling back with the Footman, you're going to get level 3 off solo creeping, and you pressure with the Archmage. And you can do a really similar thing when your Mountain King comes out when you hit tier 2, but only the difference is you'll have level 3 on the Archmage. Human vs. Sunday is impossible for human late game. Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily impossible. It's more difficult. It's more difficult than one base, but... Okay, so here comes the strat. Pally. Generally, I think 2 rifles, then long rifles is better. But small difference, not the end of the world.
Complete.
No macro errors or anything yet. I think we're just being a little bit aggressive, a little bit overly aggressive right now. Because we could have a full level advantage. We're about to regardless, but... We're sort of allowing him to keep up in levels. But we get level 3, that's good. And I think when the Paladin comes out... Okay, it's about to come up. I think sending the units back and just calling Militia and creeping this and focusing on getting a very early level 3 Paladin, while pressuring with this Archmage, keeping his Lich on level 3 is going to be really, really strong. Because most likely he's tier 2, and like, what is he probably doing? Like, he's going to be creeping, like, one of 2 camps, most likely. Well, he might be creeping this, but he is probably creeping, like, this or this when his Lich comes out. Okay, he's creeping this, and then he's probably going to go up and creep this afterwards. Right? And we can cover all this with our Archmage, and just power creep our Paladin. We have Militia. We have Holy Light. We're going to have Priest soon. We have Rifles which creep fast, and we're the one harassing him. He's not harassing us. We're in a really, really good position to get super far ahead here. Just through creeping. This is good as well. I think solo creeping the Pally, though. Ooh, fast tier 3. Interesting. This is a kind of a decent play from him. I think he was just trying to creep it, but still decent. So you said you go into like Knights as well, and again I haven't seen the Chainmiko replay, but I think honestly playing one base and going tier 3, like one base tier 3 against Undead, I think just getting rifle upgrades and just playing into Inner Fire might almost be just as good as going for Knights, because it leaves you open to less sort of counters. They can't go Banshees, they can't go Destro's Worms. They sort of have to stick to like A-Bomb Statue Fiend. Whereas if you go Knights and you underproduce rifles, you're sort of forced into a workshop. And then you're forced into like one base Knight Gyro, which is kind of like, it's kind of weak if you don't have a 2 base economy. Yeah, so now if you think about it, if we did, as soon as our Paladin came out, we pressured this creep with the Archmage, or we looked for him and found him, and then maybe he like was looking to creep this. Again, our Archmage would be on top of him, pressuring him, and we just fall back passively, similar to what we were talking about with the TC earlier, and just Militia creep this, and then like creep this as well with the Paladin. We'd be level 3 Pally by now, and yes, maybe he'd be level 3 DK. Maybe he'd be level 2 Lich, but then we could just take a fight right away, and we're going to trade much more efficiently than him. at this stage if we have Pally level 3. But now we've sort of forced ourselves into a position where he's allowed to creep jack us because we're creeping so aggressively, and we're kind of just running around. If both of us aren't creeping, his tier 3 power spike is going to be a whole lot stronger than ours because he's going to get orb, he's going to have a 3rd hero, and we're going to get like what? We're going to get staff and maybe like maybe inner fire on the way. Like he's going to be much stronger if we both just don't creep and run around and we both hit tier 3 at the same time. So I think just being more passive until we're Pally level 3 would be good. I like the initial aggression, though, with the Archmage. And that's what these strats all come down to, right? Like, it all comes down to, what do we creep? What do we creep? Where do we go? When do we creep? Because overall, back at home, it's pretty, strategically, it's pretty simple, right? What units we're building. So it's all about where we go and when. Oh, Aura level 2. Can't say I agree with that either. Because level 2 water elementals are so strong at this stage, and think about what units we're going. We're going Rifle Caster to start off. He's not going to go Destroyers. And I understand the idea that it's all about the sustain. You have Priest, you have Mass Holy Light, you have Aura, right? But I think level 2 water elementals would be so strong here. And by the time he has enough to deal with the level, or by the time, let's say, we've transitioned out of rifles into the knights that I guess you're going for, you're going to be close to level 4 anyway. Like, we're already halfway to level 4. Alright, so we reach tier 3. So it's pretty much like a straight tech to tier 3, and then we go like Knight Priest. And again, I don't mind the straight tier 3 tech. I think just continually building rifles and just getting upgrades and going inner fire rifles with maybe like an Alchemist 3rd or a Mountain King 3rd would be really good. Alright, this is a bad fight for him. Interesting. We have like a big supply advantage, which is interesting. I'm wondering what he's actually going for back at home. Yeah. Rip Agitome, yeah. And the thing about playing like one base is against Undead is we always have to be looking for opportunities where we could get an expansion up, because we might watch a replay of Che Miko playing this strategy and be like, oh, he never got an expansion up, so therefore I'll just play one base until the gold mine runs out, then I'll get an expansion afterwards. Which I don't know if that's what he did, but let's assume that's what he's going for. We watch a replay and we think, okay, that's how we're supposed to do it. But in this game, like if we look at the supplies, we look at how we've traded, we've killed a bunch of fiends, we've kept his Lich really low level, we could just get an expansion up under 50 supply immediately at tier 3 and probably win the game based off that. And I think here, just looking at the supplies and stuff, and looking at what his army was before, three fiends and a statue, with a level 2 DK still at that time, I think we could just expand behind, like we get inner fire at tier 3, we continue to build rifles, no 3rd hero, and we just expo. And we're probably winning it again. This is good, solo creeping the Mountain King. One thing we should probably try to get as well would be a heal scroll, which I mentioned earlier on this map is pretty difficult just because the shops are out of position, which is a little bit annoying at times. One thing to also think about working in, after you have about 3 priests with inner fire, is probably a couple Sorks, because, again, we already touched on the army that he's going to be forced to build. He can't really build Banshees, because they're inefficient against rifles. Like, they have bad armor, the possession isn't any good, curses, you know, you're not cursing 4 supply knights a lot of the time. You're cursing 3 supply rifles. So he can't really build Banshees. He can't build air units, because we have mass rifles with inner fire. He's sort of forced into A-bombs. So what was my point? I forget what my point was. Oh, that doesn't happen too often. Oh, well. Oh, so Sorks. That was it. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, so Sorks are really, really good because he's forced into Statue A-Bomb Fiend. Right? He can't go Destros. Pretty much he can't go Destros, but he can't really go much else. And Sorks are very, very efficient against A-Bombs. That was my point. Thank you, chat. So I think that'd be a good thing to mix in after this third priest. Just always with this strat, honestly. Like, if we're going to break upkeep, I think breaking upkeep, even if we're going to break upkeep with some knights, as long as we have a good base of rifles, right now we have 5 rifles, which is more than enough to stop him from ever going destros on one base. You know, then we can break upkeep with, you know, maybe knights and sorks. But the creeping's really, really good. And one thing that's good about not going for that expansion I mentioned earlier is the fact that we can creep like this and we don't have to be constantly defending an expansion. This is where that heal scroll would come into handy, most likely. And honestly, this creep jack, like, I don't think there's anything wrong with this creep jack, because I would be assuming the undead would be creeping his side. Like, when he creep jacks me here, I would probably be saying, what is he doing? Why is he here? He might have been looking for an expansion, but he really just should be creeping this right now, most likely. And TP out. Totally fine. I don't think there's any issues here. It was a bad creep jack. We could have TP'd earlier and probably not crept this. This is kind of a rough creep jack. But the creep jack was like, you know, I don't think it necessarily should have happened. But now, what's cool, we were talking about this on Echo Isles. We've town ported away. We know that he's right here. What can we do? We can run straight to this side. We might even be able to get this red camp in time. But probably better to just creep maybe this and then this while we have time. Because even if he's running straight down, look where he is. And look what's close by to him. This is what we have to be thinking about every time we town port. Look what's close by. He's got to run so far to creep anything. Like, he can come creep this, but in the meantime, we're going to get at least 2 camps before he reaches us. Archmage is idle for a bit. Could definitely be going to grab heal scrolls. That's something we definitely need, I would say. Orb would be really good with this strategy as well. Because a lot of this is probably going to come down to, like, if you think about, you have Orb and you have level 2 Holy Light, level 2 Bolt, you can just kill the Lich straight up, which is pretty crazy. Yeah, I think this is a great creep route to do. Go this one and then go for the red camp. Because we know, is he going to creep jack you? Okay, he ran straight down. But if we had gone for instance, for this camp first, or this camp first, we could have crept this camp and then fallen back and crept this. Which is why I think this should have been the second camp after town portaling, even though it's a little counterintuitive. Alright, we get the experience, we got the item, nice. Yeah, focus on the Death Knight. That's good. A little unfortunate. But still, yeah, like I said, we're gonna kill the Death Knight, so that's fine. Yeah, Paladin is so good in these situations. Oh, that was close. I think the Holy Light was on cooldown there, by the way. I think that's why the Mountain King died, right? I wouldn't say this is the safest expansion, but his Death Knight is dead, so... You know, and his Lich was almost dead as well, so I suppose we're alright. Always a world in which he can, like, tavern back his Death Knight and re-push, but I think we're pretty safe. We're pretty safe to take this. If he had staff, the MK would be alive, yeah. That's why I think a lot of the time you'll see human players, they'll bank a little bit. Like I mentioned, when he hit tier 3, he immediately broke upkeep when he was already ahead, so maybe expanding or banking a little bit would be good. And banking and just creeping, because of course if we're ahead, that gives us the luxury of being able to bank and still creep the map and be efficient, right? So, you know, if we banked a little bit, we would have been able to easily afford the staff and the orb at tier 3, which both would have come into handy. The orb, of course, I mentioned for the hero focus, and just in general, it's really good with these sorts of armies. The staff would have saved the Mountain King. And thirdly, we would have been able to afford a heal scroll, which would have helped us earlier at this top left creep jack. It probably would have saved like 3 rifles before town portaling. Yeah, so that would have helped out, banking a little bit at tier 3. And then when we eventually do break, breaking with those Sorks, and then breaking with the Knights afterwards. So you just go to 50 supply with maybe Tri-Hero and just Rifle Priest. And then when you break, then you can go into the Knights. Then you can go into the Sorks. I think that'd be a good flow for this sort of strategy. Yeah, someone says, Auctioneer says, yes, the most efficient game. You 250 gold only. Yeah, so if you think about it, you save a single knight with the staff, it's already paid for itself because the knight's 285 gold, staff's 250. You save one knight from dying, it's already worth it. If you don't save another knight for the rest of the game, it doesn't matter, it's already paid for itself. Which is cool. And then if you save a second knight, oh wow, the efficiency. If you save a hero, a Mountain King level 3, wow.
Job's done.
Okay, Mountain King's gonna be back. Still, did we get a heal scroll? Yeah, I would still say heal scroll pretty important here. Just because Impale Nova, chances are he'll have Disease Cloud as well. He at least should have Disease Cloud, probably a single A-bomb at least. Because that really lowers the mana on the priests. And a single destroyer also does that. So, like, you devour the inner fire, you get a Disease Cloud and everything, and the priests start to run out of mana before you realize. It's a nice way to do this. Oh, we got a workshop. I don't know if that's necessary, really. Unless he has some information we don't. And maybe he, like, revealed or something, but... Because we haven't really seen any air yet, right? Oh, he's got a frost room. Well, guess it's not too bad. Once we have an expansion, I don't think it's ever a bad idea necessarily to get a workshop, though, because we can always work in Fragmentation Shard Mortar teams, which is just great. It's just a really good unit. You should always go for them if you have the economy. Okay, Mountain King back. Still didn't pick up that staff. We did get the orb now. I don't think we had the gold for the staff yet. There is a destroyer, so we don't want to overcast Inner Fire right now. If we just cast Inner Fire on, say, like, the rifles, and then the knights will be far forward, and he'll have to actually dive to get the rifles, it might be a decent way to do it. When I see this human army, I tend to alt QQ. I think it's still winnable for the undead. I think it's still winnable. Especially without the heal scroll. But, like, we can be checking the items right now. He's got double heal scroll, but he's got no push and vulnerability, so pretty easy to kill a hero here. Pretty easy. And, we could always... Yeah, it won't be too hard to kill these worms if we just focus them. But yeah, pretty easy to kill a hero. Yeah, I don't think this guy going for worms is the right call. On paper, they're all right here, but imagine if he just instead invested all that gold and time into just getting, you know, a couple of A-bombs, more fiends. Holy Light should save the Archmage. Yeah, I think a few too many aggressive Holy Lights. We've also have yet to use the Scroll of the Beast. I think a few more defensive Holy Lights, because the idea of the strategy seems to be, especially with the Aura on level 3, the Aura level 2, it seems to just be sustained. Yeah, I think the Undead could have won with this army. It's really hard, though, to keep your heroes alive versus. Very, very hard. Scroll the Beast. We got a grubby Scroll the Beast here, everybody. Grubby Scroll the Beast. Oh, he's a big lucker. Alright, cool. Alright, well, thank you for that strategy. That's cool. I would like to see the actual replay of Chaemiko doing that as well to sort of see, to compare and contrast. But, yeah, it's cool. I think there's a few details that could be worked out, and playing one base is always a little bit tricky and delicate because, like I said, it's the cool thing about playing an expo against undead is you're going to expo and they're going to come to you, and then you just defend, and then if you defend, you just win the game. So it makes it very simple strategically for you, although difficult mechanically to hold the expansion, whereas playing one base, you kind of have to make plays to get yourself in a winning position. And you have to, like, you know what to creep, when to take fights, stuff like that, because you don't have this win condition of the undead has to push my expansion and break it, or I just win. So that's why it's difficult, but maybe there's a couple things in there I could suggest and help out with. I do think it's a fun strategy, though, for sure. Yeah, the frost rooms were a big mistake for sure. Not having an abomination as well. Just one. It's not like you need a mass abominations just because they're going rifles, but a single abomination for Disease Cloud is very, very helpful. Okay, so we have one final replay. And we're going to do this a little bit differently. Because this guy sent me a nice write-up. He sent me a replay. The replay is very, very long though. So we're not going to cover the whole thing, but we're still gonna give some tips. We're still going to give some tips. So the player is TLebbet, who is an orc player. He sent me a replay of orc against human, and he said, it's on Terenas as well. He said, "Hi Carson, with a lot of pleasure, I've been watching your community replays for a while, and I've been waiting to send a game in myself. Just as you, I'm an orc player. TLebbet in the replay. I started playing online on Battle.net a couple of months ago. My Battle.net MMR is 4,500 out of 6,000, by the way. I think it's the maximum, or maybe it's 5,000. I think 6,000. But I'm not sure what that actually means. Haha. This game, I think, is both entertaining and very interesting. I'm happy to hear feedback and have a couple of questions. I win a couple of fights in this game. Here's the couple of questions. I win a couple of fights in this game with less supply and lower hero levels than my opponent. What is your view on that? And also, do you think I could have dealt with the siege engines that my opponent has later in the game? Cheers from the Netherlands. Thanks in advance." Right on. So first things first, let's cover the two questions before we get into the replay. I win a couple of fights with less supply and lower hero levels than my opponent. Well, the first thing with that is, you also mentioned in the next question that he went for tanks, and a lot of the time if your opponent is going for things like that are more hit and run based, like mass raiders, for instance, would be one of them, mass bat riders, tanks, what else would it be? I don't know, huntresses. They're really good at attacking bases, but not necessarily good in straight up fights. So there's armies that you can produce that are good at a certain thing, but that thing isn't always necessarily fighting. Whereas for you, you were probably producing an army that was like centered around fighting. And if he was going for lots of tanks, he was probably centered around attacking buildings. So what is your MMR? Like 1,800, something like that. I'm 2,000 in 2v2 right now, though. Thank you, Hitman. We're almost the rank 1 2v2 team, actually. I think we're like rank 3. We're killing the game. Yeah, like 1,800 in solo, around there. And also he asked, do you think I could have dealt with the siege engines better? Well, the cool thing about playing Orc is actually... Orc and human. Orc is really good at dealing with tanks, because tanks they do siege damage, but they also have fortified armor. What's really good against fortified armor? Well, siege attacks. What units in the game have siege attacks? Well, for instance, mortar teams for human, demolishers for orc, glaive throwers for night elf, mountain giants with sticks have siege damage. What other siege unit did I forget about? Meat wagon for undead. So, for instance, the only siege unit that undead have is meat wagons. The only siege unit that night elves have, other than getting mountain giants, which is difficult to get to, is glaive throwers. So those are the two units that tanks are really good against, because they're really lacking counters to the tanks. Whereas Orc has the most of any race. They have 3. They have human only has 1 as well, because tanks can't attack other tanks, right? They can only attack buildings. They have bat riders, do siege damage. They have raiders, which not only do a ton of siege damage, but also have ensnare, which literally stops the tanks from moving. And they also have demolishers. So Orc really has the best tools to deal with tanks, which is why no one really ever goes tanks against Orc. But to answer your question, the best way to deal with tanks is pretty much just getting raiders. And also what you can do if you're getting lamed a lot, and by lame I mean they're playing hit and run a ton, and they're attacking your buildings and then town portaling away, you can also focus on getting a witch doctor, which is really strong, and putting sentry wards all around the map. And then after you have sentry wards, you can also use, if you're playing Farseer, you can use wolves, which I believe you are in this game to creep, or to scout everything. But yeah, getting a witch doctor, maybe getting a bat rider to scout, and also just using raiders to deal with the tanks is the best way. The way you're going to lose to tanks is if you're not getting those siege units. If you're still playing, like, for instance, if you're against a human in this game, if you're still going like headhunters and shamans, or grunts and shamans, or kodos, if you don't have raiders and you don't have lots of scouting, you're going to lose to the tanks. Yeah, even bats would work. They can get anti-air, but you know, still. Okay, now we're going to watch. Oh, there's one more thing first. Yeah, before we... Those are your two questions. There's one other thing I want to show you. We're going to watch the first 5 minutes of the replay, and then I'm going to cover a few things, and then we're going to finish up. Because this replay is like 40 minutes long. It would take me like an hour and a half to go over this. So I'm going to give you as much advice as I can without watching the entire replay. One other thing. So you say you're 4,500 MMR on Battle.net. Now, I don't know if you're aware, but there's a nice little platform called War 3 Champions. Now you can go w3champions.com. Go to this website. Now, this is it. This is where you want to go. You want to download their ladder. They're going to bring you to a website which looks like this. After you type that link in. And you're going to go join the battlefield now. You're going to click it. It's going to download a client for you. And you're going to be able to click, after you download the client, you can open it and you can click the green play button. And that green play button, one sec, let me bring it up for you. The green play button, it will just launch the game for you. And then you'll be able to play on a cool ladder. The ladder has good ping. It has actual stats on it. It's got all sorts of stuff. Well, you guys are going to see my taskbar, but who cares? It's got actual stats on it. See, you got to click the green play button, and then you can play on a custom ladder. It's really good. That's a much better way to practice because you can track all your stats. You can, you play against familiar opponents. You can play with good ping, which is really useful. All sorts of things. So you should definitely go download that. That's my first piece of advice to you, is to download that and play on that. And then my next piece of advice to you would be to, when you get onto War 3 Champions... One sec, let me show you this. Would be to... Oh, I gotta relaunch my game. Would be to veto these maps. Because you say that you're playing on a human on Terenas stand. Now, human on Terenas stand... is probably, Hitman's in the chat, he could confirm or deny this. Human on Terenas stand is probably the most imbalanced matchup on a certain map possible, I think. Now, Orc is not supposed to be able to beat human on Terenas stand for many, many reasons. They're not supposed to be able to. It's very, very difficult. So when you get on War 3 Champions, this is what you should veto. Oh, one sec. Wait for it. There we go. You should... These are my vetoes, for instance. But you should definitely veto Terenas stand. Get it out of there. Because if you're an Orc player and you fight against a human on TS, you lose every time. So these are what my vetoes look like. Or I'd probably actually do this too. But maybe not. Maybe I'd do this as well. This is what you can do. And this is what War 3 Champions looks like. Incredible. It's going to be much better practice for you. And then you get rid of Terenas stand and you'll never have to play a human on that map again. It's a very, very... rough map. With that being said, let's check out the first little bit of your replay. Boo, 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 boo. Boo, 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 boo. One sec. There we go. Why is TS kept in the pool if it's not very balanced? It's just in this particular matchup. But TS is my favorite map, says Hitman. Well, it's just in this particular matchup that it's broken. We'll talk a little bit about that. And this is assuming that the human is going to play perfectly standard, which in fact in this replay the human doesn't, but we're going to talk about how you could have just beaten this human with a free win, just based on your build order. Okay, we'll talk about that as well. But first, we'll talk about why Terenas stand is typically very human favored. And this is the only really map that this is like. And this is why Orcs would always veto it. Right? And there's other maps like this, like human, you would always veto Twisted Meadows back in the day. Because it was a terrible human map in certain matchups, right? That's what vetoes are for, right? Yeah, that's what vetoes are for, absolutely. So here we go. Let's go on Terenas stand. Let's talk about it a little bit. So the standard way... for our human opponent to play, our human opponent's going to be over here, we're not going to look at his base, is to go Mountain King first. They're going to go Mountain Fang, they're going to militia creep this camp. They're going to buy the priest. Now, when they buy the priest, that's going to make it very difficult for our Farseer that we most typically go to do any sort of harass. They're also going to be able to buy a Berserker later on. This is going to potentially also give them a Potion of Greater Mana. Even if not, they still get really good items here. You get a nice consumable. Then they're going to creep this green camp. and then they're going to call militia, and they're going to go over to this expansion. This is going to give them level 3. In the meantime, because they have a Mountain King and a Priest, we can't actually harass it as the Orc player. Because they have the Priest to abolish our wolves, and they have Stormbolt to really bolt sort of any unit that we have. So it's very difficult. It's possible. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it is very, very, very difficult at every level of play to stop them if they do this 1, 2, 3 with a Mountain King and Mercenary expansion. It's very difficult. Which is why many orcs, every orc almost, vetoes it. Because it's just difficult. But if you are a human player, do that creep route. In this game, this human player is going to do something a little bit different. It's going to do something a little bit different. He, in fact, this is, let's just show it. I'll restart the replay, let's show it. Tyloo, I think that's definitely true in a lot of circumstances, but in this circumstance, if they just do that creep route I mentioned, they're going to be in a really good spot. But, for instance, in this spot, the human's going to do something different, and we're going to talk about how we could counter this. And it's just the build order that we also do that could counter this. There's 2 build orders. Now, this is counterable on every other map for a specific reason, but it's counterable on this map for another reason as well. Now, this is just a cool build. I don't know. This is fastest possible paladin. I don't know. I don't know what this I wonder when the last time this map made it past vetoes in a tournament match was. For this matchup, I don't know. Alright, so this is what our opponent's doing. He power builds. I've done this in matches before. I did it with a Mountain King, actually, and ran straight across the map, but kind of cool, right? Kind of interesting. Now, there's lots of ways to counter this, but there's one way in particular. If we played, for instance, if we played the most standard way that orcs play on this map against human, we would win. I don't want to say by default, but we would win very easily against this. If we just did the most standard thing on this map, and I'll show you what that is in a minute. If this was done on another map other than Terenas stand, and our human player did this strategy as well, based on what we do in the other maps, which would be standard, we would also win by default. And I'll show you what that is as well. I'll show you both of these things that would just, I don't know, I don't want to say win by default, but you would win pretty easily. But let's continue to watch the replay for a bit. Now, those of you that are human players, this looks kind of fun. Not gonna lie. I'm down to play this. This looks dope. Look how fast this paladin's out. Look at this. Look at this. Farsi's only 50%. So this is pretty standard. Farsi or grunts. This is a good way to play on this map. And we're going to talk about why a little bit later. But the way that TLebbet's going to play it is a little bit different from the most standard way to play. But we'll see the adjustments that he could make in this game. So we're going to see we're going to see Divine Shield creep. How cool is this? I mean, get out of here. What is this? But back at home, this human player doesn't really have anything, does he? He doesn't have anything at home. So Farseer comes out. 2 burrow tech. This is also fine on this map. This is also totally fine. Totally acceptable. And of course here, you know, in most cases, as an orc player here, you're assuming he's creeping this with a Mountain King already with militia and already has that priest. In most cases, if you're an orc player, this is at least what you should be assuming. He's creeping this, he's already got a priest, he's already got a Mountain King, he's about to get level 2. Right? Whereas in this case, a little bit different, and that's fine, but that's what we could be assuming.
A player's forces are under attack.
This is just incredible. Look at this. So we're running over to harass, which is absolutely fine on every other map. Absolutely fine. What we normally do on Terenas stand, well, there's some cases where you can creep level 2, but you know, in most cases, against like an Archmage, instant harass is totally fine. Tech, shop after tech, all is good there. Okay. So now, if we look at his base, he's got nothing, right? No barracks, he's got no tower. And And he's got no units. He's only got peasants and a paladin with divine shield. Not even holy light, right? So here we come. There's going to be a little bit of a mistake here, which is just going to be more of a nice play from our opponent. And he's going to fully call militia, which in this case we should just back away. But like if we notice, he's still not even building a barracks or a tower behind this or anything like this. He's still very, very, very exposed. Okay, so let's pause. And let's talk about how we could have won by default here. How we could have won by default. And I'm going to play the game for you guys. And I'm probably going to mess it up. Okay. So, I'm going to show you 2 build orders here. Show you 2 build orders that would just pretty much win the game for you. There we go. So, the first one, I'll show you what the standard way to play on Terenas stand against human is. Now, it's not good, but it's the best approach, and it actually would have won the game for you here in most cases. So I'm gonna load up a game. Hopefully I don't mess this up. It'll be a little bit embarrassing, but I don't care. I veto TS, so whatever. Gonna get the same spawn as you. Alright. So, here's me. Here is my orc opener. I'm gonna do a lot of things similar to you. I'm going to do a lot of things similar to you. I'm going to do a couple things that are different that are going to make a huge difference, okay? And this might be a little bit difficult, but this is the standard way that orc players... Hitman, correct me if I'm ever wrong in this. Feel free. This is the standard way that orc players, before when they would play Terenas stand on ladder and stuff like that, this is how they would play. So here's standard. It's going to look exactly the same as yours, though, right? I'm going to go grunts. I'm going to get a farseer. There's just going to be a couple things which are going to help me win this game. Alright? And forgive me if I mess up. I'm very bad at this game. Alright? I'm gonna do all this, all standard stuff, right? Nothing new. And then after this, I'll show you another build order, which would help you win on other maps. Gonna get my barracks. This is when you show us TC Shockwave build. Victor, it would work. It would work. You imagine if I just trolled that hard? Yeah, here's my TC build. Victor, it would have worked, man. It would have worked. So I'm still going to do a 2-burrow tech, just like you did.
Work complete.
Still 2-burrow tech, still a farseer. Nothing crazy, nothing new, right? This is going to be where it starts. The barracks, the peon barracks, the peon from the barracks is going to go down here towards the mercenary camp. Going to build a second burrow. Gonna get a grunt when my barracks finishes, just like you did. The 2 burrows, grunt. This peon, though, this is where it gets a little bit different. Notice I haven't teched yet. And I come down here. You can do the same thing on the other spawn. And what am I gonna build? Oh, I'm gonna build a shop right here. Yeah, right here. I think that's the right place. It's been a while. It's been a while.
More gold. We need more gold.
Hello, Kim. Hello, Kim. My farseer is gonna come out and ascend the wolves, and they're gonna creep this green camp, and then notice my second burrow is gonna be done. And what can I do? I can actually buy the mercenaries from this camp, but while I'm doing that, I'm going to pull the lightning shield, and I'm gonna creep this. Not perfectly, but I'm gonna creep it. And then I can get a priest. So what do you know? I can heal with the priest. My wolves over here are creeping this. Very cool, right? Very cool. I actually didn't do this too bad, which I'm surprised. Alright, incredible. My wolves are done over here. I got level 2. I get a greater mana. That's incredible. It's incredible. Come over here, get this item. Alright, attack. The Berserker spawns in 45 seconds, but let's ignore that. Let's sell these. Gonna get that stuff, whatever. And I'm assuming that he's Mountain King expanding, so I'm gonna send a wolf down here. But then let's assume that he's not. And then I'm just gonna run to his base. And what's different about this game than before? Well, before we had no items. We had level 1 Farseer. We had no priest, and we ran to his base. Now we're going to have a second grunt on the way. We have level 2 for Chain Lightning. We have a priest, and we're about to buy a berserker as well with this grunt. Now we see he's not expanding. And we're just going to run to his base, and we're just going to kill him. And we're just going to kill him. So this is the standard way, and oh, here we are. The Paladin is creeping this with Divine Shield, whatever. And we win the game. GG. That's the standard way to play on Terenas Stand, and the reason I breezed through that and didn't go into too much detail is because that's not a map that we play too often. But that's how you could have beaten that guy for free. Now, the other way on other maps, because we're more commonly going to be playing other maps than this map, if we see this strategy, let's learn another build order. And you might already know all this. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, whatever. Let's say, what's a map we might play on? Let's say Northern Isles. Wow, it's incredible. Northern Isles. How do we beat Northern Isles, the Paladin first Divine Shield player? Let's figure it out. I'm going to load into Northern Isles. Here's another build order, and I'll show you where you can access these build orders if you want to learn them as well, after I show it to you. So here's another build order. Here's another free win against this player for you. So, standard as ever. Here's my altar. Nothing new here. Nothing new. Shockwave Pog. Yeah. Note, the follow-up to the last map would have just been to buy the Berserker with my second grunt and just continuously harass. And GG. Okay, now this builder is going to be a little bit different. This is the infamous Farseer Headhunters, okay? So altar, burrow. I'm going to get 5 on gold. I'm going to get 5 on gold. All right. And I can play with no hands right now. Look at this. 5 on gold. This guy is going to build a war mill when he comes out. He's going to build a war mill, everybody. Applause, applause for the war mill. Okay. I could be micro my peons. Hitman's disappointed. Whatever. Gonna build a war mill. Incredible. This peon that comes out is gonna build a barracks. Gonna build a barracks. I'm gonna build a Farseer just like before. And I'm gonna run to his base just like you did before, because that's a good thing to do against human.
Build more burrows. Build more burrows. Build more burrows.
There we go. Very efficient lumber mining. Look at me go. I'm still gonna 2 burrow tech like you did. 5 on gold, yeah. Bare ass, yeah. When I have 40 lumber, I'm gonna build my next burrow. All standard stuff. Oh, you guys like how I don't use unit responses? Yeah, pro tip, don't use unit responses. And I'm not gonna build grunts. What am I gonna build? I'm gonna build headhunters, baby. That's what I'm gonna build. And you know what headhunters are very, very good at? Much better than grunts. They're very good at sieging bases and attacking militia. Very good at it. Much better than grunts. Because as you saw, your grunt ran into the base, he got surrounded.
Work complete.
What do you know? This guy comes out, I get wolves, all that good stuff. And I build 2 headhunters and then I can tech. And this is the build order. And now I run into his base to start harassing. The difference in this is you have slowly but surely a train of headhunters coming, which are extremely good at pressuring the base. And again, you win by default. You win by default because having soon to be 2, 3, 4 headhunters is going to be much stronger than having a single grunt that then tries to run into his base to attack militia and instead just gets surrounded and killed. And even if I want, normally you tech at this stage, but I could build a 3rd headhunter if I wanted. Hey, I'll build a 4th headhunter. Look at that macro, right? Oh, what do you know? He's also a Farseer headhunter player. Look at this guy. And that's another way, a second build order we could have just beaten this guy for free with. And that build order that I just showed you is the standard way to play against human currently. You build 4 headhunters and you get 1 grunt and then stuff gets crazy. I did an episode on that build order, but an out-of-date episode maybe 3 months ago. Maybe 3 months ago. All right. So there's 2 ways you could have won by default. You also answered 2 questions. Another thing for you. After you get War 3 champions, you can also go to this website. All show. Turn to Sean Connery. Just give her a good schmack. You can also go to this website. warcraft-gym.com. Let me show you. Let me bring this up for you. And you might be wondering, what the hell? I don't know these build orders. I don't know any of these. Well, you can go to this website, and it's incredible. You can go here, and then you go to learn. Go to learn and orc. Incredible. And then what do you know? Build orders, build orders, build orders. Where's the build we just did? Where's the build we just did? Farseer, fast tech without barracks. Quick headhunters, is this it? I don't know. I didn't do this before I streamed. I didn't check it to cross reference. Is this it? Is this it? I think this is it. Here it is. Woo! And build orders. That's where you can come to learn these sorts of build orders. They also had the 1 grunt into Farseer headhunters, which would be viable on TS as well. I don't think anything is free from. This would help, though, Victor. This would help. I read down the War 3 Champions, but given an error connecting to Flow. Do you have any advice, Carson? I tried posting their disc, but I haven't heard back. I actually don't know, but they will get back to you. I can tell you that much. They will get back to you eventually. And also, if you post in our Discord, our Back to Warcraft Discord, there's lots of helpful people in there as well that can help you out. So there is my advice to you, TLebbet. I hope that helped. I hope that helped. I don't normally do the whole playing thing, pressing buttons on the keyboard thing, because I kind of suck at this game, and I don't like showing you guys that, because then, you know, I no longer can start the cult of people that believe me, you know, and all that, and I don't look like a guru anymore, but, you know, hope that was helpful. Is War 3 Champions open as an app in the background while War 3 running? Correct. Correct. I want to know the power build pally strat. Well, you'll just have to ask me for the replay for that. And then this guy eventually transitioned into Paladin Rifles. You might be asking, what's the best way to transition against Paladin Rifles? Just Grunt Shaman. You can go Headhunters, 4 Headhunters into Grunts, or you can go like he did in that replay, just Mass Grunts. Grunt Shaman, 2/2 upgrades, TC. He did all those things. But, you know, like I said, you could have won. You could have won like that in this game. All right, that's that. That's that. Fun episode. Are there any questions? Appreciate you guys' submissions. I appreciate the detailed write-ups. I really do like it when you guys write up. You guys could write me a whole book. Write me 2,000 words. I'll read it on stream. I don't care. I'll read it. As long as it's not like a fanfic. Well, maybe it is. Maybe especially if it's a fanfic, I'll read it. But that's that. And of course, as I said last month as well, don't be afraid to send replays in earlier rather than later. Like most of the replays I got for this episode were in the last 2 days. But if you want to send me a replay in right now and be like, this is for next month, I'll still get them. Thoughts on Matrix 4? Was there a trailer? Was there a trailer for it? I only saw pictures. I love the first Matrix. It's one of my favorite movies. The second and the third I could live without. I just kind of ignore the second and the third exist and just think of the Matrix as just a standalone film. Trailer out today? Oh my god. Well, in that case, I'm very excited. I'm a big fan. Now start with auto replay save. Yeah, definitely recommend auto replay save for sure. You never know when you're going to want to watch the replays back. What conditioner do you use on your mustache? Is that a thing people do? Is that a thing? I doomed? I don't know. Because people like it, I guess. Matrix TheoryCraft. Yeah, do like a TheoryCraft on the Matrix MMO that was shut down after a month. If I want to send a replay, where do I send it to? Oh, good question, Hitman. Well done. That's why they pay you the big bucks. You can send it to this email, carson@backtowarcraft.com, or you can join our Discord with this link, discord.backtowarcraft.com. You can also type !Discord in the chat, and they'll send you the same link. And you can join the TheoryCraft channel in the Discord. That's where you can ask me questions, submit replays, all that stuff. Those are the 2 ways you can submit replays or ask me questions, whatever you want. Or ask me for the replays from today, stuff like that, you know? Can we have TheoryCraft daily? That would be a lot of work. That would be a whole lot of work. Not for these episodes. That's why I like these episodes. Not only are they really fun and we get to more interact with you guys a bit more, but they don't take a long time to prepare. Whereas the race days, I normally start preparing them on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So it would be tough to do one per day. I had a game where I really had new partner 2v2 and my opponent had so many towers. We only lost the one game, Victor. We only lost the one game. All right? You got to give me the benefit of the doubt for that one game. It was just the one. It was just the one game, bro. I wanted you to 2v1. I fed you 15,000 gold. You couldn't do it. Just the one game. Just the one game, Victor. Unbelievable. I did tell everyone on stream today about how you lost range in war to a green camp last night. On Turtle Rock. I did say that in the first replay we went over, so. Or was it the second replay? So I guess I kind of got you. You got me. Whatever. That's that. And that is that. Appreciate you guys watching. I'll be back tomorrow morning for the 4 Players Gold Cup. And then I'm going away for the weekend. And I'll be back on late Monday. So hope you guys enjoy. I'll see you guys tomorrow. And have a good day. Peace out.